Welcome back to the Casting Cost cEDH podcast. I'm Blake.
I'm Chase, and today we're talking about our experiences at the Land Go 10K in Nashville, Tennessee. What's up, you guys, and welcome back to the Casting Cost cEDH podcast. If you'd like to connect with us and keep up to date, check out the links to our Discord down in the description below. If you would like to support the channel, head over to our Patreon and become a cast member today. Also, check out Mana Vault Proxies, where you can use our code CCC at checkout for 5% off your purchase. Finally, if you haven't done so, go on ahead and press the like button, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you like what we're doing. We hope you enjoy this episode, and as always, go play some cEDH.
Just to clarify, we participated in the Open, not the Envy, because we're not that good.
Yeah, we're not that good. We're not that good. We had quite a few people asking us, I think, when we got there for the expo at the greater event, they're like, "Are you playing the Envy?" No, dog. I ain't that good. We say a bunch of shit online, and that's it.
Now we got some friends that are that good that played in the Envy, which is really cool. Like Kellen played in it. And Sean, she got second in it. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. And Matt also played in it.
Yep.
So yeah, we got a lot of friends from the Nashville area that participated in the Envy. Brandon Lucia dropped out of the Envy to play in the Open. So that was fun. And we got to meet a lot of really cool people. And so I guess that's kind of where I'll start on things for this past weekend. I don't know. There's something about this event that felt different. The first big event I went to last year, which was the cookout, it was like, oh, people like it was kind of like a weird feeling of like, oh, people kind of recognize me at times, like, and like come up to you and say hi. And then we went to the Tabernacle a couple months ago, and then it was like, oh shit, now a lot of people are starting to recognize who we are. And then we went to this event, and I felt like every single time I walked like 5 feet in any direction, it was like, hi Chase, or like, hey Blake, or like I saw you talking to like a group of people, or I was talking to people, and like, I don't know, it's still kind of a odd feeling at times. Do you ever feel that?
Yeah, I think one of the funniest things that I didn't even get to see this, y'all told me this, but there was somebody that said that they thought that I was going to be like really like bulky and like really tall. And then they said, but Blake's actually, and then they shrunk down and like squatted, and then they were like still bulky. And I was like, these motherfuckers. But it is accurate. I'm not very tall. I think that a lot of people, the camera does you a lot of favors, but yeah, I'm like 5'7" on a good day.
And I'm like 5'6", 5'7" on any given day. And it was kind of funny because I think one of the funniest comments regarding that is because people still get us confused quite a bit, like online, in person, whatever. I don't know how. We don't look like anything. We don't look, I mean,
like father, like son.
Yeah, apparently. But I think one of the funniest comments came from Kellen, like in between rounds at the event, or like in between like the first and second day, or I forgot when he said that. I'm pretty sure it came from Kellen, but he was talking about us, and then he was talking about Guy from like Double Sleeved MTG, which if you haven't checked out Double Sleeved MTG, go check them out, because the guy was really awesome throughout the course of the expo and the event, and just getting to hang out and talk to him. But Kellen was just like, have y'all ever noticed that like all of you kind of just look the same? I'm just like, no, I don't feel like we do. And then there's like the three of us that like all are just very short white dudes just strolling around the event. So maybe he had a point.
That's hilarious. No, dude, it was fun though. I will say, like, it was really cool just getting to go up and like meet a lot of people, getting to like, I had people asking me to like sign their play mats and sign stuff, and I thought that was cool. My signature looks like dog ass.
So does mine. I should have been a doctor. Fucking Cole. You know, not to get into too many details, but we met this one kid named Cole. He was carrying around like a Minnie Mouse backpack, and so we all ended up having to sign it, and that was cool. He was another one that like kept checking in with us throughout the course of the events and things like that. So yeah, just again, just really appreciate the love and the people that did come up and talk to us. There were several. Got to see a lot of familiar faces, not just like in the content creation scene, but like people we have played against, whether it be in the Nashville area, up in Louisville, even whenever we went up to Ohio, so on. So it was really cool.
Yep, I agree. But yeah, the event itself was actually like awesome too. It was ran great in my opinion. I think that Wayne does obviously a great job. The judging and like the judge staff were like also incredible. Anytime I had a question, it was like very like they were like expeditious, like just over there answering questions. They all did a really really good job.
Yeah,
And
no, I go ahead. Sorry.
and we ran into the cake pop lady again. That shit's
Yes,
fire, bro.
yes,
It's so good.
yeah. You got mad at me on the last day because I was trying to make a fucking deal on a car. I was trying to get a Mox diamond, and Blake's coming up to me. He's like, "Here, you want a sweet treat?"
I
And I'm like,
bought
I'm
this
like, Blake,
I bought
trying to
this
do
motherfucker
something.
some cake because he likes the stuff from the table. And I was like, I'm going to be nice and I'm going to get Chase one. And I walk up there and I go, here you go, Chase. And then he just like doesn't want it. And then I go, here you go, Chase, again. And he's like, just hang on a second. And then I go over to Thomas and I was like, this motherfucker. So I give it to Thomas and Thomas was like, I'll eat it. And then after that, he said that he walked back over there and asked you. And you said that you were like, he was acting like my wife right now.
It was funny. No, I was in serious business mode. I had some things I had to take care of. I had to get that Mox diamond. I had to.
You
But
already own one.
yeah, I own a shiny one now.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
so that was cool. But no, like I guess kind of breaking down everything. I guess today, we've already kind of started talking about some of the people we met and just like our thoughts on and I guess just being in the content creation space and like how it still feels odd at times. But like if you we make a point of saying this, or at least I make a point of saying this whenever we do announce we're going to events, like don't be afraid to come up and talk to us. Like even though like we are still kind of, or at least me, I kind of am still adjusting to the whole idea of it. It's not like I'm gonna be like, be gone, peasant. Like come up and say hi to us, like please. I that it's one of my favorite parts of being at these events is getting to like sit down and have conversations and get good games in with people and just have fun because it like at the end of the day it's about the gathering and the memories that you create with the people that you care about and want to be surrounded by.
No, I 100% agree with that. Like I said, dude, I had a great time. Like it was so fun getting to meet so many different people. I don't know. I just really enjoy it. I think that going to like smaller events is always fun. Sometimes I can leave being kind of like, I don't know, like maybe if the event wasn't run like awesome. I don't know why, but like for some reason, people love to start events like in Kentucky just late as fuck in the day. I don't understand why that is. Like I was so happy that this event, it was 5 rounds, but I was so happy that it started very early in the day. So that way, like once the day was over, you had a chance to go LobbyCon and do stuff. It was awesome. But yeah, I mean, everything felt very nice. Like as far as timing goes, you just see the cat in the background, like losing
Yeah.
her mind.
Well, I mean, you said it earlier. Like I feel as though Wayne has always done a really good job at running these big events. And I'm just really appreciative of the opportunities, not only to have like really good events like this ran in kind of our region of the US because like he's got a lockdown on the South is what it feels like. You know, all the staff that was there, you mentioned the judges, Baldy, it like every event that I've been to where he's a judge at, it's a very well run event and which is probably why the Excalibur events are being ran so well too. Hopefully like one day soon we'll be able to kind of go a little bit more up north and experience some of that. But yeah, just I'm very thankful for the people that put in the efforts for this event to be ran smoothly, for it to be enjoyable. I feel like there were some moments throughout both days where like there were some feel bads, but like that's because of players and not because of like anyone that was running the event or the judges or anything like that. I felt like overall, um, and I know we kind of haven't like got into like the entirety of our experience, but even Wayne like inviting us to play in the creator event too at the expo the Friday before the NV and the 10K.
Yeah, I drew some shitty decks. No, I'm just kidding. They weren't that bad. But I think honestly, Grixis Pirates was pretty fun. I will say that deck was interesting. I did get a win with that, which was that was fun. And then I played Najila that was like straight up combat Najila. Like I don't think there was
Yep.
Nas or Necro. It was insane. Did not have a good time on that. Every time I'd swing, somebody would just block my 1/1 and then it would die. And I was like, I'm never gonna win this game. And then I thought I had a fantastic start in that game. I had like it was, in my opinion, it was really good. I like land, and then I crop rotted my land away to go get an ancient tomb, and then I played like a Chrome Mox and imprinted it, and then cast a Ristic Study turn 1, and I was like, we're cooking. And then
Yeah.
somebody freaking MBT'd it, and I just cried. I was like, can we make any deal to where like I get to keep this? And they were like, I was like, fuck.
Oh my goodness. No,
And then I had to play Hashaton.
I thought that was the first deck that you played.
It was. I actually said them in backwards order. It was Hashaton, Najila, Grixis Pirates, but fuck Hashaton. I love Esper. That deck fucking blows, bro.
Yes, I'm not gonna go over like the exact details of my experience in the creator clash, but like I know in my round one, I got on. So okay, yeah. To preface things, this was 16 of us that are content creators getting together, random deck, random pairing, 3 rounds, and we get a random deck every round. So that's what Blake was on. My first one, I was on Lumra, sitting in seat 4, next to the creator of the list for this Lumra, which was Eric of Critical EDH. And so I was like, oh, I feel like I am fucked. Is kind of what that felt like. And it was a pod of oh, what was it? I think Craig from Two Deep was on Vivi, and then Simic Queen was on the Najila list you were talking about. Eric was on Glarb, which great color pile to have a just for a random event, and then me on Lumra. And like at one point, like Eric was like just telling me about all the different lines in it, and I was just like, I'm gonna pass turn. Because he was like, I can stop you at any time, but you could do this, 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 and this. I was like, okay, Eric, you got me. So he ended up winning that. Round 2, I got on Grixis Pirates in seat 1. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Awesome. And then it was me in seat 1. It was Guy from Double Sleeved on Kennen. But of course, there were like 20 Kennen lists in this event. Apparently, Alexa MTG on the Najila list, I believe you're talking about, and then Comedian on Lumra in seat 4. I had to mold a 3. And do you want to take a guess at who won that round?
Comedian?
Absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't, you've said it before. You can give that man a ham sandwich and he will do well. So, yeah, Ian won that one. And then, I felt bad because I was sitting next to Lily and she was in a different pod and I was on her list and I had to go to 3 and she was like, I'm sorry. But it was funny. And then round 3, I got paired with her. She was on, oh, what was she on? I don't remember. I don't remember what she. Yeah, I don't remember what she was on for that one. Yeah. She was on Hashtag. Yeah, that's what it was. So it was Wild from Sleeves and Dweebs and also Man of Vault Proxies. So
shout out Man of All Proxies.
Huh?
Shout out Man of All Proxies.
Shout out.
We
Man
also got to hang out with them, which was fun as fuck.
Yes. Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a second. but got to play with Wild. Celtic Warrior Games was on Atali, and then Lily on Hashton, and then me on Glarb. And I felt like I was in a pretty good spot. And then Wild like psych riffed the board, and Lily was like, I think we could keep playing this out. And then she ended up winning. So that was the very brief rundown of those events. And as Blake just mentioned, we got to hang out with Notorious and Wild of Man of All Proxies and have dinner that first night, and just really two good, awesome dudes. We were there with a lot of other people, but just kind of shout out to them because of the opportunities that they've provided us with, as well, as far as like being an affiliate and just getting to become like closer with them throughout the course of this week was really awesome.
Oh yeah, dude. I had a blast. It was such a good time. Honestly, I don't know. It was just really cool to experience again, like all the vendors and the events and the people and stuff like that. The F6 crew, which was like Evan, Freedom Waffle, like his whole group. And I don't want to butcher people's names. I'm so sorry. I think it was Andy. He's like red beard and stuff. He was cool as shit. The dude was awesome. Yeah. He actually, I wish I had my bag. I don't know where the fuck I put it, but they gave us some of these like F6 tokens and stuff too, which are badass. But it's the ones that like Evan designed. So like every token you pick up has a trigger on the back, because he used to say he would get so frustrated, like he would go digging through his bag and have to look for triggers. So these tokens are like on the front side, have like the normal things like, oh, keep track of your mana, keep track of whatever, all these different things, storm. But then every single token on the back of it has a trigger on it. So no matter what token you just accidentally pull out of the bag, it says trigger. And then there's even a set of trigger tokens that are just triggers. And on the other side, you can have like opponents' triggers because they look different. It's badass. They're awesome design tokens. Cool. But yeah, I got some of those, and it was just so nice. And then shout out Andy, bro. That dude breathed life back into me, because I had won. I won't spoil anything. I had went into my games, and I was going into game 3, and I was actually starting to get kind of tired. And I was like, dude, I need a fucking energy drink so bad. Like, I am tired. And I walk over to the booth, and I see Andy has like a white monster, and I'm like, hey, dude, where'd you get that? And he goes, oh, we're selling them. And I was like, oh, like legit? And I was like, can I get one? And he just reaches in the bag and hands it to me. He's like, it's on the house, man. Like, thank you for what you do. And I was like, dude, you're a fucking homie. And I swear, I drank that thing, and I felt amazing afterwards. Oh, it was so good. I went into my game 3, and I was ready. I was like, fuck yeah, dude, let's get this.
Well, speaking of the games, are you ready to get into our rounds for the Open?
I'm going to be real honest. I'm going to preface this very, like, I don't remember what the fuck, like, the fine details of what happened in these games. So I'm just going to, like,
that's okay.
Gloss over it super hard.
I'll be completely honest, too. I took, like, the pictures of my first 2 hands from the rounds and then forgot to do it afterwards. And these were such, like, the first day in particular was such a long day that I don't remember everything that happened. But if you have kept tabs on things long enough for the channel, we kind of do that for these events. We just kind of spitball what we remember as we're talking about it. So feel free to I guess enjoy whatever journey we're about to go on as we recap our rounds from the Landgo Open 10K. You want to go first, or do you want me to go first? It doesn't matter.
I'm cool to go if you want me to.
Okay.
I would like to know though, what deck did you play?
I played Sisay Weatherlight Captain. What did you play?
I also played Sisay Weatherlight Captain.
Fucking copycat.
Hell yeah. And it was bro, it was such a fucking dumb decision to like put some of the cards in that I did. Chase was like, okay, look, this is what's stupid. Chase has countless reps on this deck. Countless. I mean, endless reps. He's brewed a bajillion different versions of this deck, and the man has taken the time to be like, these are good cards, I wouldn't play these, blah, 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 blah. And he tells me all that. And then I'm like, nah, fuck it. Like, I can vibe my way through this. Warren, Soul Trader, Chatterfang. That's all I fucking need. So I build the...
And literally 5 minutes before the decks are to be submitted, Blake is like sitting next to me. It's just like, nah, fuck this line. I'm gonna take it all out and
I
change it real
mulliganed.
quick.
I mulliganed the deck like 3 times. I had never got any reps on like this specific build of it. I mulliganed the deck like 3 times. Every single fucking hand I saw Camball, like the shitty Camball, the profiteering mare, whatever. And I was like, yeah, fuck this. And I immediately pulled him out. I pulled Chatterfang and I pulled Soul Trader out. And I put in like Saheeli, Deadpool, which, why did I cut Saheeli? Why did I cut Deadpool? I don't fucking know. Put in Saheeli, I put in Deadpool, and then what was the other? I'll put Gran in because I needed a third thing. Never saw Gran.
Just listen to me next time.
Yeah.
Just listen to me. So yeah, that was, and literally he did that like 5 minutes before the decks had to be submitted, and we're going into round 1, and I was just like, "What the fuck are you doing, Blake?" So yeah, yeah. Let's get into these rounds. So in round 1, Blake, what was your pod? Where were you at?
Okay, so I was in seat 4. I'm gonna be really honest with you. I don't remember what the first deck was. I feel kind of, I don't remember. I think it may have been like some kind of Rog Thras deck or something.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. This is really bad. Here. I mean, I don't care. It was some deck. And then there was a Kennen in seat 2, a Tali in seat 3. I'm in seat 4 on Sisay. The stuff started happening. No, maybe it was a farm deck. I don't remember. Oh well. But whatever. It didn't matter. Atali started to fucking go ham. That's all I remember. Atali went bananas, and I did not get to do much of fucking anything in this game besides talk through the table on how to interact. It was insane. But it was very funny to like watch Atali do the thing because Atali was just fucking going bananas. And eventually we got to a point to where Atali hit a sequencing of spells that was going to win the game. Kennen then proceeds to crack an emergent zone and cast a Basalt Monolith with no extra mana untapped. And we'd already hit time at this point. Like we hit time, again. So like they crack and then they're like, they cast Basalt because they're like, we're in time. Like they have to go now because nobody else is getting another turn of Atali. Like Atali's either winning right now or we're stopping the win and then that's over. And they proceed to go for it. And I'm just like, dude, I've got to use the bathroom so bad. Like, can we just draw this game? And the dude's like, Basalt is on the stack. And I'm like, if I show you this Otawara, like, will you like just agree to draw the game? Because again, I still had to go. And then he looks at me, he goes, what's your target? And I was like, Kennen. And he goes, yeah, I'll draw. So immediately everybody agrees to draw. And I was like, sweet, cool, we got out of there. So I got to draw. And then I hightailed it for the bathroom. I had to go to the bathroom so bad. It was no bueno. but yeah, Tali was just sending it. It was crazy. It was really fun to watch. I kind of feel bad because I don't know what, I really don't remember I don't remember who it was. Hang on. Let's see what the deck was. TNT. Sorry, Timna Thras.
Gotcha.
My apologies. I knew it did something with Cradle. But yeah, TNT. But yeah, it was very funny. Yeah, that was my round 1. So I ended up with a draw.
That was your round 1? You had it. Okay. So
I am 0-1. Sorry, I should do that.
At this point, yeah. There you go. My round 1 was interesting. So it was Rogthras in seat 1, and the pilot for that was Simon who's part of Atlanta Power 9, which had originally met him at the cookout. We technically were paired against each other in day 1, so like that was kind of cool that we got to kind of have another round there. It was me in seat 2, a Wandering Minstrel player in seat 3, and then Rog Ishai in seat 4, which this is another pilot that kind of came up to us, I think, at times throughout the event. They go by Ristic. Super cool dude, super chill. And so this was a fun round. This is one of the ones I actually took a picture of my opening hand. I believe I kept this. I went to 5 and I kept an Esper Sentinel, a Wooded Foothill, Noble Hierarch, a Ristic Study, and a Scrubland. So I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, we just have turn two Ristic. Cool. And so that's what happens. I jam a turn two Ristic. I'm drawing into a bunch of cards. Very quickly, like, it turns into hey, we need to deal with Sisay. We need to deal with this. I kind of felt bad for Ristic at one point in time just because, like, they had gone to, like, 2 or 3 on their moles and just didn't have anything there for a couple turns. That very, very quickly turned around. I felt like in a really good spot most of that time until they the until Ristic on Rogish, I was able to resolve a Jessica's Will, maintaining priority, flare duplication. And so yeah, that was fun. And by fun, I mean I think they dropped like a Ristic, a Fish, and a Smothering Tithe, like off of all of that. Like, it was crazy. It literally like changed the entire pace of the game. Rogthras was in a really good position. The Wandering Minstrel player was in a really good position. I was in a good spot. I had like 5 pieces of interaction in my hand whenever like Ristic is trying to go off in their turn. And like me and Simon on Rockthras, we were trying to work together. We were seeing each other's hands, like making good deals. The Minstrel player was trying to make deals with us. They had resolved draw engines, and like they had enough to where like if the or if Ristic had continued to push, they could have potentially won over the top. Like, it was a crazy game. Like, I will say this. With the exception of my last round that I played for the entirety of this event, all the games were very, very good games. I'm good, and we'll come back to that later. And it was like very strong, competitive games, like literally anyone could take it. And I felt like a key theme throughout, especially day one, was that like I was very clearly like a big presence in each round as far as like, hey, if we don't do anything about this, then Chase is gonna just run away with the game, which is sometimes a good feeling, but it very quickly turns into a 3v1. And so that's what kind of happened up until the point where the Rogishai player like got literally everything they needed to on board. The Rog Thrust player was continuing to develop. Like it seemed like at times they were worried about me putting out activations. And so we just ended up taking it to a draw. And so yeah, for round one, I am 0-0-1, but it was still a really good round.
That's good, man. No, I had my game 2 was funny as shit. Mainly because I drew our buddy Brandon, who we went down there. So we went all the way down there and played in a 212 player event for me to draw Brandon, not Brandon Lucia, but our buddy Brandon Centers. And
who streams on Twitch. So might have to put a link down in the description below if you'd like to see what he streams. I think he does a lot of Arena and I think some World of Warcraft at times and a few other games. So yeah, shout out to Brandon there.
Oh yeah, but anyway, so my seating was fucking weird in this. I actually looked at it. I was seat 4, seat 1, seat 4, seat, like I just kept flip flopping between 1 and 4 the whole fucking event, which was hilarious. But this time I went from seat 4 to seat 1, and so it was me and Z1 on Sisay, Richie on Grixis Pirates, so Malcolm Vile Smasher in seat 2, Brandon on Blue Farm in seat 3. Whoa, fuck, and a Tyam player in seat 4. So I look at my hand. I'm gonna be so honest with y'all. Again, I don't fucking know Sisay, so I don't know how to mulligan this deck. So I saw a hand that was just like Esper Sentinel on like an early 7 or a second 7, something like that. I think it was my second 7. And I was like, this seems good enough because it had like Esper Sentinel Lavinia. I was like, fuck it. Sent that shit. I did see, I think, what did I have? I had Tainted Pack in hand as well. So I was like, fuck it, send it. So I just like, we're gonna see what happens. So I drop like land Esper Pass. And the Malcolm deck kind of sets up. Brandon Imp Seals on his turn, So I immediately know, I'm like, this man's getting a heuristic study. I got you. And then Tyam like had to mull low. I felt bad for him. So they go like land, mana vault, pass. And I'm like, great. I get back to my turn. I drew some cards, get back to my turn. And I'm like, awesome. Another land, Lavinia. And everybody's like, what the fuck? Like, shit, does anybody have anything for this? And they were like, no. So I was like, awesome, perfect, pass, which is, crazy. But I was like, we'll see what happens.
Right.
So that was what, and so the Grixis Pirate deck, they played a fish turn 1. I didn't feed them shit. I'll just be honest with you. So they didn't
because you're dropping creatures.
so they didn't.
Yeah,
They kept
absolutely.
the fish around, played a land, passed to Brandon. Brandon tries to play his Rhystic Study, and I'm like, hey, bro, you can't, Lavinia, because he went like Ancient Tomb. I was like, sorry, dog, you can't do that. And he was like, fuck. Okay, I'll play this like Mana Vault. I was like, okay. Then Tyam, same thing. I don't even think they had a land drop. They just couldn't do anything. They pass. Gets back to me. I play a Selvala because I'm like, sweet, here we go, Selvala. Pass. And I'm still drawing cards off this Esper. So finally, this is where the Malcolm player gets like kind of upset because like no one is feeding this fish except for like maybe a card. So he was like, okay, whatever. And he kind of flashed his hand, I'm not gonna lie. So I knew that he had some like 1 mana interaction in his hand. You know what it is, flashing your hand, I'm gonna look at it. But so he just like taps out, casts Malcolm, passes. It gets to Brandon, and Brandon can't do anything. He passes. It goes to Tyam can't do anything, passes. It gets to my turn, and I'm in my upkeep, and I'm like, anybody want to show me a reason not to go for it right now? And Tyam's like, I'll trade you hands. I'm like, sure. So we trade hands, and Tyam has nothing. So then I asked the Grixis Pirate deck, and they're like, and I just look at Brandon. I go, Brandon, you're the only one that's got mana, so you're the only one that I'm worried about. Like, what you got, buddy? Like, if you got any reason, I won't go for it right now. I'll straight up, I will be honest with you. But if you don't, I'm going for it. And he was like, then he, instead of telling me yes or no, he like looks back at the Malcolm deck and was like, you don't have anything? And I'm like, Brandon, don't be putting that on him. You don't have anything. And he said, well, I thought a heuristic study. And I was like, well, you thought wrong. So I was like, you ain't got nothing. And he was like, yeah, man, you got it. And I was like, cool. And I cast Eladamri's Call and went and got Thassa because I was playing Thassa and Sisay. And then I proceeded to just like, I had to hit a land drop to make the black mana. And then I spent a mana, tap Selvala to make 2 like double blue. And then I just like cast the Oracle, whole priority, cast Tainted. And then I had the Esper. So I was like, okay, like I had already seen the Tyam's hand. I know I can't cast anything, or they can't cast anything. The Malcolm deck, they can still technically cast stuff. It just gets countered. So
Into
like,
that personal.
I was like, I don't want to die. And then Brandon doesn't have anything he can cast because I knew that. So I stopped 1 shy just in case they cast something. I was like, what y'all got? And then I was like, cool, Thassa resolved. I got out of there. And then I was like, fuck yeah, dude, I'm feeling fantastic. But where it was like, it was a very early win. I think that there was, whenever I got done with that win, there was like still 65 minutes left on the round timer. It was very early. So I was like,
I love how you decide to pick up a 5-color deck and you win in the most Esper way possible. Like, it's that's so stupid. I hate every single bit of that. Like, it almost makes me cringe in a way where I'm just like, ah. I hate it so much.
It turns out I talked to Comedian about this, but Thassa's Oracle in Sisay is fucking goated because you run so many creature tutors anyway. Like, or you don't have to, but I think that you should. It depending on what version of the deck you're playing. Like, obviously it's dependent, but if you're okay with like casting certain creatures, I think it's fine, and it gives you the opportunity to like what Waffle says, like fail forward a lot of times, because you can cast that tutor, and when somebody goes, what are you going to get, you can literally just be like, what are you afraid of? And then they'll tell you exactly what they're afraid of, and you'll be like, okay, cool, I won't go get that. And then you just go get something that's like also scary, but not like,
yeah, I won't grab this Bloom Tender. I'll just grab this Thassa's Oracle and cast Tainted Pact in response to the ETB.
fuck yeah, dude.
You were worried about me tapping for Wooburg. Nah, motherfucker. Like, I'm just gonna win right here. That's exactly what happens. That's crazy,
Hey,
man. That's crazy.
I'll tell you what, bro. I have a story for the next round, but yeah, So I got out of there early, but then I was sitting around for fucking ever. I was wandering around but thankfully I had a friend because I had Brandon. Love Brandon. Sorry, Brady. But we were walking around together, and so we eventually got to a point where we were like, let's go back to the room, and like we'll hang out for a minute or do whatever. And I was like, that was whenever I needed the boost. And so before that next
Yeah.
round, that was whenever Andy was like, here's the monster. And I was like, fuck yeah. There was some funny stuff that happened in between that, but I don't think they need to know that.
Well, that's for the other content.
Yeah. Yeah. I just
They
tell you right
don't
now,
need to see
they,
that.
yeah.
Uh, yeah.
The people that
Anyway,
work the bathrooms, they got to make sure the TP stay stocked.
oh my goodness. We were talking about two completely different things there. Anyway,
I know what
I
you're
will
talking
go into
about
my
though.
round two. So this was a tough one, and you saw the position. Like you were at one point like standing like over my shoulder, I think, or at least near the table towards the end of this round. This was a interesting match. So it was seat one was Joyra, Ageless Innovator, and that was Christian. So one of the people in the Nashville area that we've played with, or at least I've played with, kind of here recently in the Nashville Discord, and it was good to kind of meet him finally in person and get this game in. So that was cool. Seat two, I don't know the full commander. The name of it is Vohar. It's a Demir commander, but that part wasn't really relevant. They were playing more like a Demir control build, so that was kind of cool to see. Me in seat three, and then Kennen in seat four. This was a really interesting game, and I got my opening hand on this one too. I kept looks like a Wooded Foothills, a Taiga, Esper Sentinel, Fierce Guardianship, Badger Mole, and a Cabbage Merchant. So I was like, okay, we have a little bit of interaction. We have a value engine. We're ramping. We have like all the things that we need. Again, we start making a lot of cabbages. We draw into Spider Woman super early. That shuts down Christian pretty hard because now like anything he would bring into play with Joyra just comes into play tapped. And so that was kind of like screwing over the table to some extent. So that was kind of good. It felt good to have Spider Woman in that scenario. Um, again, this was kind of a situation where it very quickly turned into like, hey, Chase is the problem. Like I think I very quickly ramped into like I think six creatures on board with the Badger Mole Cub, and like I think I had Enduring Vitality out as well, and was like able to tap them down for all the extra stuff. And then I was like, okay, I'm just cooking. But they showed me all the interaction that they had, or at least Christian did. And then the Vohar player was just like, I have answers. And so they were heavily working together. The Kennen pilot, I think, was kind of like in a bind because they were doing a lot of like main phase activate Kennen, like main phase just go into flips, and then they'd like develop a little bit and then pass. What really was the turning point in this game is that the Demir control pilot, they resolved a Consphinx. And so they had Consphinx out and a lab man. And they at one point had agreed, like, hey, I think we're like in the a spot where we kind of had to either force Chase into a draw, or I'll try to push for a win or something to force him into a draw, or we got to work together, or something like that. And I tell you what, I don't think I've ever been in this tough of a position with Sisse in kind of that 3v1 scenario where there weren't a whole lot of draw engines out, with the exception of like Fairy Mastermind and a Wanchi Tong and things like that. Um, and the Consphinx drew just like so many cards, so many different ways to deal with my board state. And Christian was working together with them, and like I mean, they showed me the pieces, like they had everything to just shut down my plan. Like it's really difficult to do. And whenever I say that, like they showed me enough to like shut me down, like most people would think, oh, Chase just had like two Sisse activations. No, that was not the case. I had a total of 4 cEDH activations with the colored pips, not using Agatha's Soul Cauldron and like Cradle or Badger Mole, like the green from it. No, I had 20 mana in order to put activations on the stack, and they were still able to fight through all of it and just like try to bury my activations on the stack whenever I was pushing for a win. So we ended up taking a draw. I think the thing that kind of got me about that game, and so this is something that I guess again, I feel like when we go through these, I always try to what's my takeaways from the game and from that round, and um how do we kind of like use that to further our plan for the next round or continue to learn from event to event. When this was going on, the Demir control player like had told the other two players like, "Hey, I will agree to a draw right now, or we're kind of in a position where we had to push me into a win in order to force Chase to accept the draw." And so I saw where it was going, and like they had gotten down to like maybe 15 or so cards left in their library. They had a lab man out. They were still going to get triggers off the Con Sphinx because if my draws or my um, the search from Sisei activations had resolved, the Wanshi Tong was going to trigger. That was 8 more cards, so on, so on, so on, right? And at one point, they look at them, talking about Christian and the Kennen player, and they're just like, what if we're at a point now where I don't agree to take the draw? Like, what if I were to push for a win now, knowing that they're going to see more cards, they're going to draw out their library, and the lab man being on the field is going to make it to where they'll win because of state-based actions, because it's not a trigger or anything like that. And I just kind of looked at him, and I'm just like, hold up, I'll agree to this draw right now because you agreed. Like, I see where this game is going. I know that you all have the interaction for me. You have effectively stopped me, and you already committed to a draw for them. And it got you to this point. And so either we're going to draw right now, I'm going to offer it to you, and I'm going to stop, or you could just lie to them. Like, or you could just, if you want to lie about it, you can. And they were just like, I wish I could lie so badly, but I'm not going to. And so they took the draw. And I think that the thing to learn from that is like when you're in those situations, and like, because it was a really good game up until that point, I felt like, and it kind of would have taken away from the moment because we were all just like shooting the shit, cutting up, and like everyone was politicking well and things like that. And then that happened. I think that that's kind of one of those situations that like Zach and Kellen and some of the others we've talked to of like, holding them to the letter of the deal. And obviously, this player could have chosen to like back out of it and just won anyway. But I think that then um, in my stance, it's like, hey, I think that this is what happens now. We kind of have to force them now into a position where I'm in the seat and winning this game, because now if I win this game, then they have no choice but to agree to a draw, and I'll hold that. Like, I'm not just gonna like win to be a dick or anything like that and just steal the win that way. And like, no hard feelings, because like they held up their end of the deal, and they did decide to take the draw. But it was just kind of one of those things of like, you did tell them you were going to work together to try to stop me, and I'm going to be the one to hold you to that.
Yeah. I will say I used to make deals like that a lot more. I think that I'll be a little bit more hesitant moving forward doing that kind of stuff. Because, I mean, like, dude, at the event, that's the whole reason Cowboy Bob, like Robert, whatever the fuck his last name, I don't care, but Cowboy Bob, that's the only reason he made top 16 was because he just kept lying to people. And everybody knows he's a liar. And, like, people talk about that. But, like, there were literally games where Cole and them played in a game with him, and it was, I forgot what happened, but one of them was trying to win, and I think that they said like like he was like, oh yeah, I'll agree to play for the draw if you'll help me, whatever. And they made it known. They were like, hey, just so you know, like he is a known liar, like just a heads up, and because like people know who he is. And then the other player was like, no, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think that he's lying. Like if he'll agree to play for the draw, then awesome. Like I'll we can make this deal, whatever. And then he just fucking lied and won the game like a
Yep.
dickhead. So I don't know.
Yep. So, future reference, those of you that might not be aware of Cowboy Bob. Cowboy Bob is, I didn't notice who Cowboy Bob was until people talked about he's a dude who wears a cowboy hat. Yeah, and it's in his top deck profile, Cowboy Bob. Like, so if you ever come across him, like, just know he's a liar and he will fuck you out of the game.
Yeah,
So,
shitty, but whatever.
good job.
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, yeah, you top 16. Congrats. I don't fucking know. But whatever. But it is what it is. But no. So, what's your record now?
I'm 0-2.
I just realized I didn't say mine either. But yeah, I'm 1-0-1 at that point. I go and get some caffeine in my system thanks to the awesome people at F6, and then I go to my round 3, and I'm in seat 1 again, which is bananas. So I'm obviously still on Sisay. I did not change decks in between rounds. There was a Teamer Pirates at the table. It was Malcolm Tana, so another Malcolm deck. Keith, who was on Rog Ishai, and then another Sisay player at the table. And also, one thing that I've noticed playing against other Sisay players every time I sat down, they always ask what version of the deck I'm on. And, like, I didn't know really how to answer. I was just like, it's some cope shit. And they were like, oh, are you on the Walker line? And I'd be like, I got Walkers in it. And they were like, the Walker,
Right.
like, and I'd be like, you're not getting any info out of me. Fuck off. Like, you're not, get out of here. No, nah.
I feel like it's a good question to ask.
Yeah.
As far as some of those pre-game conversations, and I mean, I feel like that is kind of a scenario where, like, we were just talking about lying and things like that. I don't think that it's a bad thing. Like, if you want to be like a little like mysterious, I guess is a way of putting it. You were just fucking clueless, but you don't have to be open to revealing that information because they're like, in particular, Sisay, like, there are so many different variations of this deck that it is kind of hard to gauge. But I do feel like if you are trying to build like that rapport from the very start of the game and you're trying to like be in good graces with the table and things like that, it's kind of one of your tools that you have at your disposal in playing Sisay of like, hey, this is the version that I'm on. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm on Walker lines and then like, haha, Underworld Breach, gotcha. Like, I'm not trying to do those things. I'm going to be very transparent on what the version of the deck that I am on is. But, from this point on, just like, you got to know the deck.
Well, the moment I said I was on some cope shit, everybody just immediately was like, oh, you're on Chowder. I was like, I
Right.
think the only card that uses my life total is like, obviously like the lands, like, the fetches, though that, and then like Lotho. I think that's actually it, but whatever. But it was cool. There was a judge call in this game though. This was really funny because I had like a copy of Saheeli that obviously just says like Planeswalker. It's like the old art, and people were like, "Is that legendary?" It's like all Planeswalkers are legendary, but I thought that was really funny. But yeah. So Saheeli is legendary for anybody that's wondering. But no. So yeah, I had like a great start. I can't remember this. You would think I would remember. I couldn't remember if it was like turn 1 or turn 2, like Rhystic Study, but I kept a Rhystic Study hand because again, I don't know how to mulligan in this fucking deck. I was like, Rhystic Study seems good. Dropped a Rhystic. And then just proceeded to start drawing cards. And I thought for sure Keith was going to clone my Rhystic Study. But eventually he did cast one of his own. And there was a long discussion about whether or not I should counter that thing because I thought really hard. I was like, man.
Did you do it?
No, I ended up not doing it. I forgot what happened, but I was like, man, I really want to do it. And then he showed me the rest of his hand because at first he didn't want to. And I was like, but that makes me think you got something. Like, that makes me nervous. He shows me his hand. It's nothing good. I felt so bad for him. But I was like, look, man, I'm trusting you. I know how to hand this shit gets. Don't make me regret it. And so I was like, you got the heuristic study. And the other player was like, no, I should counter the heuristic study. I'm like, no, it'll be fine. Well, thank God I did not fucking counter the heuristic study, because then Keith proceeds to draw a shit ton of cards and stops the deck that pushes first, which is the Teamer Pirates deck. I know that Keith has an Ottawara. Jesus Christ.
Otter
Otter. Yeah, you've said it that way so many times. That's what I about said. Legit, I was going to say Otter. But and I have a redirect lightning in hand, so I'm like, I don't want to burn this thing. So I'm like, okay. And I'm looking at my hand as I'm drawing cards, and I know that like I'm going Thassa's route. Like I could just immediately tell. I was like, this is going to be a Thassa's win if I get there. So on my turn, I play a Bloom Tender, can't tap it, and I was doing that to take a lot of heat off of the other creatures on the board. And Teamer Pirates deck starts trying to go for a push. Keith is like, you don't have anything. And I was like, no. I was super heads up. I showed him my hand. I was like, I've got counter spells, but like I can back you up. And he immediately like has to Ottawara and hit the thing. And I'm like, Ottawara's gone. It's pretty good. Well, the Teamer Pirates deck doesn't get to do any more pushing. It goes to Keith's turn. Right before Keith's turn, so like in step, he shows me this. I think it was Path to Exile or whatever. Which one? Resource Plowshare, whichever one. I don't remember. I always forget the one that makes me gain life.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Am I gonna have to use this on that Bloom Tender?" And I'm like, I don't want him to hit any of my other shit. Obviously, I want him to hit the Bloom Tender. So I'm like, come on, bro. Let's be homies. Like, I let you have the heuristic study. We could be friends. And he goes, yeah, but I know you got that redirect. I kind of want you to use it. And I'm like, oh, man, don't make me do that. And he's like, I think I'm gonna hit the Bloom Tender. And I'm like, fuck. And so I know I'm not gonna use this redirect. But I sat there for a minute pretending like I'm thinking about using the redirect. And I'm like, that's fine. Bloom Tender dies. I gain life. And then he goes and sets up and like drops a fish. So now he's got like the fish and he's got Ristic. And I think he had a Taru making a shit ton of mana. We get to the other Sisay players board and they're like still trying to develop. They tap out for a Smothering Tithe. And so I'm like, okay, like we're okay. They can't cast Sisay though. They don't have Sisay. So they tap out for Tithe, they go to pass, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna activate Sisay. And everybody's like, what does he get? And I'm like, it has to be 3 or less. So like, Derevi doesn't really do me any good now that you killed my Bloom Tender, and I like start doing that whole spiel. And they're like, I'm just cutting up laughing or whatever. And then they're like, yeah, no, like that's fine. Teferi. And I'm like, oh yeah, baby, Teferi. So then we get to my turn. They don't have anything. The Teamer Pirates guy has an Ottawara. He goes to Ottawara my Teferi, and I show him the redirect. And I'm like, So I send that shit back to like something on his board. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to tutor up the Thassa, same thing. And then I'm like, I had to demonic tutor for Tainted Pact. I cast the Thassa, do the Tainted Pact thing again. And then while Tainted Pact is on the stack, they're like doing everything they can to get like people to draw cards. Like they're asking like the Rog Ishai, they're like, you don't have anything? And he goes, I've got 20 things, but I can't fucking cast anything. So then he's like, you don't have Ottawara? He goes, I used the Ottawara on you. So then the Teamer Pirates guy's like, well, my Ottawara's gone. So then they're like, Sisay, do you have anything? And he's like, I don't have anything. So they start cracking fetch lands. They're doing all kinds of shit to like get him to draw off of like a Wanshi. And he just doesn't have it. So the Tainted resolves, and I'm like, Thorkel ETB back on the stack. And I got there, and I was like, fuck yeah, dude. So I had double back-to-back wins with Thassa. My hands were shaking the whole time because I just had that monster. My hands were shaking so bad. I was like, fuck, do I get there? Please just let me win.
Again, he takes Sisay to an event, and he finds the most Esper way to win. Except, here's the big difference. He does it way faster than when he's playing Zerg.
Indeed.
So yeah, just ridiculous. So for those of you who keep I'll say this little spiel after talking about my round 3.
Also, yeah, so at this point I am 2-0-1. So I'm
Yeah,
chilling at 11 points. At this point I think I looked and I was like 6th overall for the event. I was like, fuck yeah.
yeah. So Blake's already locked into like day 2 at this point. My round 3. So I don't remember what I kept. At this point I stopped kind trying to keep track of those things. It was a Rog Ishai in seat 1, me in seat 2, a Rog Thras in seat 3, and Glarb in seat 4. And all these pilots I've played against before, whether that be in Nashville, at the cookout, so on. So like it was kind of a good time just being able to like sit there and like just kind of hang out and like talk and shoot the shit and things like that. Um, this game felt like again another crazy game where out of the gate, like I had draw engines, I had all the mana, like was like in a really good board state. Um, and I don't exactly know what the turning point of this game was. Like that's just it is kind of how crazy it got. The Glarp player on their turn, they go like before we get to the end, they main phase Orcish Bowmaster, and we're just like, okay. So I'm kind of sitting there. I'm like, oh no, he's gonna tear my board apart. And they were like debating on it and going back and forth and being like, okay, how do we stop Chase? Like, what do we blow up on his board? And I was making really good deals. I was like, hey, I understand like this is threatening. Like I won't push here. Like let me just like have a way of being able to interact and stay in the game with this OBM on board because we're gonna need it going into the Rogishai player's turn. And I I don't know how this happened because everyone makes the joke of, oh, Sisay doesn't interact. Sisay doesn't run interaction and counter magic and things like that. Nah, bitch. Like my list does. My list runs a ton of interaction and it was crazy. So we get into this massive stack battle with the Raw Gishai player. And I'm like just casting and jamming spells, trying to like trigger other people's value engines. And obviously, the Raw Gishai is like, I think they already had like a Ristic and maybe a copy of it on board. So like they were just drawing more and more cards. And like, like it finally got to this point where from the card draw, the Glard player was keeping the Raw Gishai in check because they were shooting them in the face the entire time. And they got them down to 2 life. And we were just like, if you keep pushing, you are going to die. Like, and so they're like, okay, I stopped pushing here. I think what I'm gonna have to do is like I'm gonna have to take out Chase because Chase is in the position to win after this because like and this is like all in main phase 1 for the Rogish pilot. And so they were able to talk the Glard player out of shooting them. He was just like, I'm going to attack Chase and get him out of the game. He had already hit me for like 11 with the Ishai. And I was just like, oh, okay. And now this bird's like over 20 at this point. And so the funny thing about that, though, is that I had a Flash Thompson on the stack. So I had with a silence that resolved before the Flash. And so the stack starts resolving. My silence resolves. Flash Thompson resolves. I tap down the Ishai. I untap one of my dorks so that way I can continue to do things if I need to. But I'm still worried about this OBM. And I was sitting there with a deadly relic in hand. I had Sisay on the field. I could have cast it for free. And I was like really contemplating, like before going into my turn, like, I need to get rid of this OBM because it's the thing that's going to lock me down now at this point. And the Rogish player had drawn so many cards. Like that was kind of the thought process in my head. I was like, I really need to get rid of this this OBM. But they drew I'm pretty sure they drew like every bit of like 30 cards in that rotation. I was just like, but there is a really good chance they just sculpt a hand and they either Valley Floodcaller or no, they had tried to actually cast Valley Floodcaller in response to the whole stack bullshit that was going on. Um, but I was like, they if they have a Born Upon a Win in hand, and I get rid of this OBM, then the Raw Gishai player just wins. And so um, I start going in my turn. We're talking about what's going to happen pretty much in my turn, and they end up stopping me. And I think that was the point that we ended up either taking a draw or it just went to time. Um, and then afterwards, the Raw Gishai pilot was just like, yeah, if you had gotten rid of the OBM, I had Born Upon the Win in hand, and I was just gonna like try to pop off during your turn. Like it was stupid, but like again, what do we learn? Like sometimes you have to just trust your gut. Like it was not a really good position for me with that OBM on the field. I really wanted to remove it, but the moment I do, I just open the window back up for the other pilot. And even though the OBM was really really bad for me, it's what actually like saved the game and took this game into a draw. So that way, at least we're walking away with a point. And so I, at this point, am 0-0-3. And what I was going to say earlier before I talked about this is that if you're keeping up with the records, Blake is beating me on Sisse, which I call bullshit because I don't run cope cards like Thassa's Oracle and Tainted Pact in my Sisse list. I might now, but after retooling the list today several times. But yeah, I choose to still play Sisse in the not so traditional but traditional sense, and I'm trying to prove that I don't need those cards to win. Fuck you, Blake.
I mean, I'm gonna play that shit. It's so good. Oh my god. I'm actually thinking about like fucking around with a bunch of different stuff in Sisse because it's really fun. I
It
honestly think though,
is.
I think Sisse is such a fair deck. If that, and I know that that's gonna sound like really dumb because like it literally puts everything out there for you to be like, if you actually know the deck and you can do like math, obviously like the unknown information is the stuff in your hand, but it's like everything is out there. So if people actually understand like the math and they can develop like a decent idea, they can kind of figure out like what you're working with. Like obviously in that instance, like if I in-step activate for 3 and you've seen that I've had heuristics tell you the whole game, you probably are being like, fuck no, you're not resolving this fucking Sisse activation. Like not happening. But when people don't know, and like again, like you said, they don't know the build of the deck you're on, they're like, I mean, it's fine. He just goes and gets to Revy and we'll kill that shit. And then it's like, nope. But yeah.
I like how you literally just said like I feel like this is a stupid comment to make. That was one of the points I made in last week's episode is that Sisse is just a fair deck. Like it's a hard deck to pilot, and if you don't really know what you're doing with it, it can be difficult, but it lays its game plan out in front of you and you have to commit to the board. It is just a fair top 10 cEDH deck.
I'm about to
Is one
build.
way of looking at it. And so now I feel like you were saying that my comments on Sisse are stupid, and I am offended. I'm triggered.
Yep. You should be. I do think though that I'm about to build Sisse's fucking Silent Emporium or some crazy shit because I'm about to put every silence effect under the fucking sun in this deck. I was telling
You
them,
only need like 2, 3, maybe
hell no.
3.
Hell no. I told you, bro. We about to put Grand Abolisher. We're gonna put Ranger Captain. We're gonna put Voice. We're gonna put it all. I'm just
I
kidding.
think if you want to do that, you just need to play Pod. Play the
Hey,
Pod
I
version.
want to put Pod in.
Do you? Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm pumped. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very excited to play this deck. I think it's gonna be really stupid. But I was thinking about fucking around with like, not to derail this conversation, but I was thinking about fucking around with like Oswald Fiddlebender, and like I told you, like you go like get Oswald and you can eat like a 1-drop and go put like Defense Grid straight into play if you're like going for the win, and then if not, just put like a Wish Claw. And then if you don't have like any 1-drops, but you have a 0-drop, just put like a Bauble straight into play, stuff like that. Oh, I'm gonna be fucking stupid. I'm gonna be dumb with this deck, but it'll be fine. It'll be really bad, but it'll be fun.
Yeah. I'm trying out some different things after our talk with Jared, but that's for later. Let's get into
Speaking of
this round
Jared,
4.
speaking
Yeah.
of Jared, this was my stream game. I was on stream for this. Thought it was awesome. They put us at like table 35, and then they come in there, and I actually think that this is really cool how they do this. I've known a lot of like places what they'll do is like the table one is the stream table. I think
Right.
this was really smart because what they did was they matched all the pods up, and then once they saw the pods, they would look at everybody and go, what would be a really interesting pod to put on stream for like viewer perspective? Let's do that one. And then you can just go get those people from that table and bring them to the stream table. That makes
That's
so
cool.
much sense. I was like, that's so smart. But regardless, so there was I faced two Jareds in this, or Gerard. I don't know how you say it. Jared. I'm sorry, Jared. But I faced Jared Cast. So he was in C1. And Jared, I told Jared this, and I played Jared one time at it may have been Pull Priority. I think so. I could be wrong, but I believe it was Pull Priority. Jared's got some fucking style. He always wears this like really cool hat, and he always wears like really nice like outfits. He looks awesome. Like I don't know. I literally told him that. I was like, I love your style. But Jared plays Hapatra, which I don't know if you know what that is. But it is
Uh,
like
uh, I've heard talks of it, but I'm not fully
yeah,
aware.
it's like a Golgari deck that whenever it swings, it puts like 1/1 counters on stuff and kills it and does things. I can't tell you much about what the deck does. I just know it runs a lot of Hulk lines. Like it's very interesting, but it was a really cool deck. But it fucking shreds a traditional Sisei board to pieces. And then there was Jared, 2 R's. And Jared actually I think, finished second overall for the tournament. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Really good player. He was also on Sisei. Then Zach Neese was on Blue Farm, and Zach was when top cut or when like the Swiss rounds ended. Zach was the top player as far as like points overall. Finished with like
Oh wow.
fuck. Hang on, I can actually tell you how many points Zach finished with. Zach, whenever the whole event was done, he finished with it says 23 points.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
Zach was kicking ass. Um, but yeah, so Zach was just beating people's ass left and right. Very good player. And dude, his Blue Farm deck is funny as fuck. I went in there because I was like, I'm gonna look this deck up. And when you click on the deck and go to his Mox field, it pulls up and it goes, ah yes, I too like vanilla ice cream and missionary. I thought that show was hilarious. Yeah. And then there's me on Sisei. This game got cut short because Jared, the other Sisei player, had a grand trigger that had resolved where he like you basically like loot, so like draw a discard, and pitched a Boral Breeze Caller, and immediately the judge staff like stops the game, and I guess what had happened was Jared had submitted the wrong deck list. I don't think it was intentional at all. Dude was super cool, like
Right.
super cool guy, super cool player. But he just accidentally submitted the wrong deck list, and it happens. He has like fucking 16 different builds to say. He's like you. He's got like 16 different builds.
He's like me.
He's got
I
like
built
16.
16 versions of it just today. What
Yeah,
you talking about?
yeah. He's got like 16 different builds of Sisei on his Mox field. So he just accidentally submitted the wrong list. So they pull him from the game. They go, hey, like yada yada yada. Basically come back and they're like, hey, like something had happened. So they were just like, he was getting DQ'd for that game. Again, we didn't think anything like there was no bad intention there, nothing like that. It just happened. It was
Right.
a mistake. So like, don't, awesome person, great player. And he did really well for the event. I probably was about to get my ass kicked if that game continued, but we all just like the judge came back and like Baldy explained the situation. It was like, you all may continue. And I just was like looking at everybody and I was like, y'all just want to fucking ID this game. Like, this is scuffed as shit. And everybody was like, sure, why not? And so we just like, we ID'd. And so I ended up getting a draw in that game. So at this point I'm 2-0-2. I did feel kind of bad though, because on stream, I was kind of like giving Jared a little bit of a hard time. Obviously, he's dealing with this like really sensitive thing that happened, and I felt bad. But I was just like, fucking Cradle Farm players, like just giving him a hard time, and but that's just what I do. But so yeah, I took a draw, and we ended up getting out of there pretty early too. So I just kind of bowed out and hung out for a bit, and then I think about that same time was when I ran into Grant Eklund, who, surprise, surprise, Grant won the whole damn event. But I ended up talking to Grant and for a little bit, and he had no idea who the fuck I was because, like, obviously you don't see people's face on spell table. And I'd played with Grant a couple times, and I was like, yeah, Xander, blah blah. And he was like, yeah, I was kind of sad he didn't get to come. And then I was like, yeah. And then He shows me his deck. I literally looked through his entire deck, didn't notice that Thassa was not in his TNT deck. Uh, but yeah.
Oh, is it just like straight up fair mastermind stuff?
Yeah. He's on some crazy stuff though. He's on like Teferi, like the 5 mana blue Teferi that like flash and like makes
Get
everybody else
like
have to
2
go
extra turns and
What's the one that makes everybody go like sorcery speed? It's not a walker, it's just a creature.
oh, the creature, Mage's Zhalfir.
Mages of Fear, yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
on some different stuff like that. But I asked him because I was talking to him today about it, and I was like, "Do you feel like this deck feels good?" And yeah, he basically was like, "It gives you like the most agency. Like it's just yeah." So I just thought it was really interesting, but it was a really cool deck. But yeah, sorry, my screen got dark, and I was like, oh, oh.
So yeah, and I know that the like close to the end of day 2, we got the chance to kind of talk to Jared. Like you introduced me to him, and like he showed me the deck list for cEDH. He is on some wild tech in that list that I'm going to probably try out a little bit of just to see how I feel about it. Maybe not go like too deep down the rabbit hole with it, but I think it'll still be fun.
He's on like fucking sewer valence cam and like was it Goblin Welder in line? Like what is
Yeah, Goblin Welder and Surveillance Cam, and you can literally like make infinite mana. Like it's stupid.
but sorry. But yeah, so again, like we drew that game. It was scuffed. But I felt like that was the best way for that to go down. And what was cool is because we all agreed to draw, they I think they downgraded the penalty or whatever that he got. So he was actually able to get a point out of that game
Oh, okay.
versus just being like straight up
That's
BQ,
cool.
get nothing. And so I just felt like that was the right way to handle that. Like even if any of us had won, I don't know. Like obviously it would be nice because like a win locks any of us for top 16, but I don't know. I wouldn't have wanted to be like, yeah, I got into top 16, but it came off of like this dude who was doing really good in the event getting DQ'd, so he didn't beat my ass in this game. Like I
Yeah.
would, so yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, so I'm like I said, I'm 2-0-2, and so I'm chilling. I got one more game for the day, and I'm chilling at 12 points.
My round 4. So you all were just like happy go lucky, like, oh, let's take a draw. We were on stream and this happened, and let's take a draw. And for me in my round 4, we all sat down at the table. We looked at each other and we were all like, we're in the same position. We are not taking draws. Like we agreed. We were like, there has to be a winner in this pod. So that way, regardless of how the game like pretty much turns out, at least one of us is going to have enough points to make it into day 2. And then and then like um and then um so that way they don't have to worry about the last round, and then it's just a win and then into round 5. So it is Grixis Pirates in seat 1, me in seat 2, and then double blue form, one of which in seat 3 was Jordan, who's one of the guys that we've played with up in Louisville, and we played it with at some of the LobbyCon stuff when we were at the Tabernacle event, things like that. Typically they are a ROG side player, but they were playing blue farm for this event. Kind of interesting game, and kind of a repeat of how some of these games have been, where it's just like, right out of the gate, it's just like I developed very, very hard. They were just kind of going like, we need to worry about this, but also the Grixis Pirate player was like essentially threatening win at all times as well. Um, so I was able to kind of like talk my way through some of it of just being like, hey, look, like I can grab pieces to interact and be a team player here, but like we need to work together through the Grixis player's turn, because they are just going to win. Resolved a Malcolm pretty early. At one point was like in the middle of trying to resolve a Glinthorn Buccaneer, and I was just like, hey, like I can help with this. I need to know what's going on. Like, if you all absolutely don't have anything, then I can do something. But I need to know that first. And so, like, I was able to put an activation on and go grab a Spider Woman in response to the cast. So that way they couldn't just like instantly like start pitching things and dealing damage and like getting treasures and continue activations, or swing with Malcolm and get a bunch of treasures that way or anything like that. Like all your stuff's gonna come into play tapped. So I could at least shut you down here. And like it was a couple of turns of that, like of just being like, hey, even though I'm in a really good position, like you all are kind of telling me that I'm the only one that can interact here, and I'm open to doing it, because if I don't, we just lose the game. But like we gotta make some deals going on here, because I'm not going to interact and then like just get like shit on afterwards, or get my board like completely demolished. And so thankfully we were able to work things out to where everything was good. I think the only thing that ended up kind of really setting me back is that Jordan did kill my cabbage merchant pretty early on, and I had like a bunch of cabbages. So I was just like, oh, okay. I guess I'm kind of out of this game now. And it did get to the point where like eventually we literally just had to like stop one another at all times. And I know that the blue farm player in seat 4 was trying to go off, and then like there at the end was trying to pop off, do some lines, do some crazy stuff. Jordan was trying to pop off like on top of him, and like the only way they were going to be able to get there was like by like removing my Spider Woman to continue to interact with the other blue farm player. And they had a professional face breaker out, so they were like sacking treasures and trying to dig. And it got to a point where like they stopped this blue farm player. Jordan kept trying to go, but his only way that he could was through the professional face breaker, and he couldn't dig down enough in order to like find the pieces he needed to assemble a win. And it just like naturally went to time. And so even though we all agreed like, hey, we are not accepting a draw, we ended up taking another draw, because it just was a game where it naturally went to time. We did an ID. Everyone played out to the best of their ability that they could in that round. And like it again, that was kind of the theme for me for pretty much all my games, except for like one or two, and I'll get into that for the next one, or at least how I felt in the beginning of the next one. But all my rounds were super intense competitive rounds where it was just like anyone had it, and we're in a Mexican standoff the whole time. So it's a fun round, but we end this in a draw, and we're 0-0-4 for the day.
I will say, so I noticed this. So it's kind of like going back to what you were saying, because that is one thing that I also noticed with some of the Sisei cards. It's like once you play them, you're kind of like all in on that thing. Like a cabbage merchant, for instance. Like if all your mana is wrapped up in food, and then cabbage merchant's gone, like it's just like fuck. And I had this exact same experience in this game, but with a Relic of Legends. And I'll talk about it. But my seating this fucking day one was just bananas. So I was seat 4 in game 1, seat 1 in game 2, seat 1 again in game 3, seat 4 in game 4, seat 1 in game 5. So I was just like, I was either like best seat, worst seat. Like it just is what it is. But so in this, and then James, which we know James, like James is Magda player, really good Magda player. Local to that area, really good. Seat 2, and then seat 3 was Timna Thras, and then seat 4 was Rogsai. And so I'm over here looking at a hand that's basically like I can go into like a Mana Vault, into a Relic of Legends, keeping up interaction in case Rogsai tries to go first. And then my next play was basically turn 2 into a Kennen, and then drop a Lavinia. So I was like, I'm really happy with this. Like right now, this is fine. So I'm doing the thing. Everything's going good. I've put like all my mana, obviously relying on this relic. And then eventually I bring out Sisei. Going into my turn, I'm going to have an activation for like 4 or less. There was a moment where one of the players was like, I don't think I get another turn. it happens. Everybody's like, oh, Sisse. So the TNT player just decides to send Thassa and cast like Demonic Consultation after the ETB resolves, and the rock side player immediately goes, I'd like to show this Pactum negation and offer the draw. And I just kind of stand there for a second and I go, you can't, I mean, you can cast it, but it gets countered. And they go, what? And I'm like, Lavinia. And they're like, okay, never mind, I pass priority. So it gets to me. I have a Flusterstorm, so they're not fighting through that. And I look at James, and James was like one treasure away from doing Magda stuff. I knew in my head what I was going to go get when I got to my turn. I was going to, before anything happened, I was like, I'm going to go get Deadpool. I'm going to take the text box of Magda, and then I'm going to be in the driver's seat here. I've shut off Rogside because they didn't have a lot of lands. TNT has blown their load on playing Thassa. They didn't get there. They have like no cards in hand. And Magda without a Magda is just like, okay, you kill my Deadpool, but it still does not have Magda text. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, we're feeling good here. I did not ask to see James's hand because I'm a dumbass and I should have. But James said, I cannot win on my turn. And I at first thought what he meant to say was I would not win on my turn. I talked to James after the fact, and it was a different situation. So like, what essentially ended up happening was James said I cannot win on my turn. Well, it gets to the I counter the thing. I'm like, okay, you're not gonna win on your turn. I counter the thing. Rockside does nothing. It gets to me, and like right as it's the instep of that player's turn, James fucking cracks some treasures and like cast a split second spell to blow up my relic. So I go from having like enough mana to do an activation to like 2 mana. And I'm like, well, I deserve this. We lose to Magda.
Yeah.
And I get to my turn. I'm like, yeah, I have nothing. I pass. And he was like, were you really that reliant on the relic? And I was like, fuck yeah, I was that reliant on the relic. I was like, are you kidding me? So James goes into his turn and draws a card and immediately starts feeling bad. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? Well, he top decked the dork that he needed to like go infinite with Magda with like Clock of Omens, like the automaton thing.
Right.
And so now obviously it's a situation of like, I can win on my turn, but he does the thing, sets it up, makes infinite treasures, passes turn, upkeep of that player's turn, does the Magda thing. The only moment where like there was a potential chance that we could technically like stop the line was he would have to draw a card off of the One Ring, and if he drew like Liquid Metal Torque, then the line's dead and he can't win at instant speed like that. But it's not gonna matter. He's gonna put out every stack piece. We're gonna be fucked.
Right.
But draws the card. It's not the card. So he does this like really cool line where it's like twin shot sniper, where you basically like channel it, tuck it, do it again. Like you'll continue to draw it with like by filtering like this One Ring thing. It was really interesting. It was really cool. And the TNT player immediately was kind of like, you said you couldn't win on your turn, blah, 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 blah. And then immediately he was like, look, I'm really sorry. Like I could not win on my turn. Like as it, as like the game was sitting there and I didn't win on my turn. Like I did wait. And he goes, well, you said you couldn't, not that you wouldn't. And then like they obviously had a back and forth. And then after the game, James was going to me. He's like, Blake, I'm so sorry. I promise I didn't lie to you. Like I would, and I was like, dude, no, you're good. I was like, I promise. Like I was like, it's okay. Like whatever. It is what it is. Like it was a good win. And he was like, I should have just threw my fucking hand at you whenever you were going to counter the other thing so you knew I wasn't lying. And I was like, no, to be fair, I should have asked to see your hand, and I'm an idiot who didn't, because then I got fucking split second spelled on all my mana. And he goes, what were you going to go get off that 4-drop? And I was like, Deadpool. And he was like, you're an asshole.
He should feel bad for that at all, then.
Yeah, so
you're the one that should feel bad for making him feel bad.
It was so funny.
How dare you?
Yeah, but James ended up doing really good in the event. But yeah, it was so funny, dude. I want to say, hang on, how did it shake out? Yeah, whenever everything shook out, me and James had the same amount of points, but James finished 3 spots ahead of me. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
But it was good. So it was really fun. And he's really good at Magda, like really good at Magda. So it was fun. I had a good time. And I mean, it wasn't a bad game. Like I said, I took the L. I should have done a better job of like trying to get information from Magda, because I thought from the get go Magda was kind of in the driver's seat in that game. It was between me and them,
Right.
and I shouldn't have cared so much about what the other two were doing. I should have like really tried to probe for information. Like, hey, but honestly, even now that I think back on it, I don't even know that that would have actually like solved the problem, because I think what happens is I still get my stuff blown up after I obviously steal the text box, and then he can just sack the Magda to like with the Deadpool text to
Yeah.
kill it, put it back in the zone, and then just recast it. I don't know that he would have had the mana to recast it if he didn't have, because he wouldn't have had the treasures. But it would have been kind of at that point like a very slow roll race to see like who gets there first. I would have had to just basically be hoping and praying for like lands and other shit. He just keeps top decking lands, and so it would have been a really slow, grindy game. Just seeing what happens. It probably would have drew anyways. I probably could have, looking back, just been like, I'll do this for the draw. But I
Right.
felt good. I was like, oh, this is fine. I've got an answer for Magda. Turns out I didn't have an answer for a split second spell. They're really good. Fuck. So
Fair enough.
yeah. So at that point, I'm 2-1-2. I finished day one, made day two, and I'm at 12 points.
Well, again, if you were keeping track of everything, I am at 4 draws. I'm at 4 draws. So I am at a win and in. 7 points was the cut to make day two. I'm at 4. And so in round 5, all 4 of us were at 4 points. One of us had to win, right? We couldn't take a draw, nothing. So I was like, okay, here we go. And for the first time in this event, I am sitting in seat 4, which is crazy to think about, because usually what ends up happening is I consistently sit in seat 4 at every event I play in. But for the first time in the entirety of this event, I am sitting in seat 4. And so the pod was this. It was seat 1 was Najila, and that was piloted by Kayla from Pinnacle. And then in seat 2 was Craig from Too Deep, again from the Creator Clash. He was on Rog Ishai. Abel from the Nashville area, which we've got some games in on Discord and things like that. So again, it was really cool to start meeting like some of these people like in person and like putting more like faces to names and things like that. So I had Abel in seat 3 on Rogthras and me in seat 4. There's another trend that happened in this game too that typically happens in most of my tournaments that I play in, and that I have to mulligan really low. All these other, I think the lowest I had gone all day was 5, and I was like, okay, cool, this is great. And we get to this, and I go to 4, and in part, like, I wasn't seeing any lands. I wasn't seeing any ramp. I wasn't seeing any card draw. It was like the polar opposite of what I had been seeing all day. And so I ended up going I kept a hand of a land, a Noble Hierarch, a Lotho, and a Fabro Elder. And I was like, I just have to top deck lands. Like, if I could top deck lands, then we're in a good spot. Turn 1, I think I draw Cabbage Merchant. I'm like, okay, we have all the mana fixed. If we need it, we can be cooking. Like, we're good. I dropped the Dork, and then everyone just like significantly starts outpacing me in their in the second turn. It gets back to me. I draw Savala, and I go, well, shit. So I missed my land drop. I can't cast anything from hand. I just have to ship the turn. And then finally on turn 3, I think I draw a plateau, and I'm like, okay, I can cast something here. What's my best option? I just drop Cabbage. I'm just like, I have to start making more mana. And it kind of sucked because it's just like I have 2 really heavy creature decks, and then I have Rog Ishai, but even Craig on Rog Ishai isn't going to benefit in this pod against 3 creature decks. Thankfully, I got enough to go into my next turn, and I'm like, okay, I can drop Lotho off the cabbages, and I can cast Sylvala. And so right then and there, it's like I have cabbages, I have a treasure producer going on, I have one of my combo pieces. Like I am back into this game. The hard part was that like Kayla and Najila kept was like super hardcore threatening win for like a few turns. Like it got to a point where like she would worldly tutor for a Derevi with Najila, a couple of warriors in on board, and then we had just bounced a Samut back to hand. So it's just like, oh, if she gets this Derevi, she just straight up wins. And so before she draws her card, a bell goes, I'm gonna brain freeze you. So that way she just mills the Derevi. And I think she was just kind of like, I don't know why you would do that here. And then like a turn or two later, she's like, oh, that's why you did that, because I just had win with the Derevi. And we're like, yeah, we had to. Oh, like, and she had a hexing squelcher out too. So it's just like we couldn't counter anything. We couldn't do this. We couldn't do that. Like she's in a really good spot. And so it was mostly Craig and Belle kind of interacting with her, and I was just kind of sitting back and trying to point things out, hoping to get another turn. Um, and like I was making some treasures, I was making some cabbages. Like we were back in this game after what had happened. And so she drops an enchantment of like anytime a creature attacks, you put a counter on it, and then you can remove a counter and make a mana. And so I was like, oh, that just wins on its own too, where as soon as she has 5 creatures she can attack with, she makes 5 more mana, and there's an Agila activation. But we had enough blockers on board that she couldn't really get through to anything. And so that was what kind of stopped her in that moment. And so that happened. Craig, I think, had a big ass bird, was threatening to kill someone with it, like, was looking more at Kayla's way, I believe, on it. She was able to remove it. Like, I think she, like, deadly rollicked or something. Abel continued to develop and try to get a game plan going. It gets back to my turn, and I go, cast Sisay. And Kayla didn't have anything. Abel didn't have anything. Craig had already previously shown me a subtlety and to deal with like the Samut coming back down and things like that. And he was like, "Are you going to win here? Like, do I need to use this? Like, what are we going to do?" And I just looked at him. I was just like, "I'm agreeing. I'm not going to win on my turn. Like, I'm not going to win right here. I'm not saying that I can't, because very clearly I can. But if you allow this to resolve, I will not win. I will not put a push right here, because my interaction is in the deck. If like I basically have no cards in hand. If you want me to be able to interact, or if I need to, things like that, then that's where I'm at. But I'm not going to put a win right here, and that's all I'm going to say.
You cheeky motherfucker. But yeah, okay.
Yeah.
GG's, it's over at that point. If Sisay hits the board and you got Savala, yeah.
Yeah.
You had,
So
what did you say? You had Lotho, Savala, and Cabbage?
I had Lotho, Cabbage, Savala, Noble Hierarch. Like I had so much stuff, and the line ended up being super super tight. Like I had enough for like 2 activations already on board with the Sisay coming down. And so I was like, if I need to interact, this is my only way of doing so, because she's pushing for a win on her turn. Um, but as long as this resolves here, I'm going to agree that I'm not going to put. I'm going to cast this. I'm going to pass, or that I think that, yeah, I think I just cast Sisay and then I pass the turn. I let the whatever mana that I had left fizzle, and just she's got it. Um, and so uh we get to her turn. She starts trying to do the thing. We're talking about it. We're trying to talk about how to remove pieces. Craig is just like, hey, I still have things to do. Like, if you try to push here. And like, he showed me he had a Hullbreaker Horror, and he showed me he had like a Disrupting Shoal and a few other things. And I was like, if I if I do push, like if I try to go over the top, like that stuff's not going to like impact my board state because I'm just going to continue to activate in response. Um, and so that's kind of what ended up happening was like I was able to during her combat assemble like Dravi, Emil, just start doing the thing and then Mount Doom the table out in that moment. So it was definitely a thing of like, hey, if these are the things that are going to happen, like I have to resolve this in order to be able to like help and interact. But like I'm the deal was that I was not going to win on my turn. And even he was just like, I took that deal. Like, uh, I saw like he made a comment afterwards. He was just like that was good. Like I should have probably clarified more of the deal or not kind of locked myself into that deal because like you still had the win if it resolved. And I was like, yeah. So
There was a deal like that one time where I think it was when we were playing with Trauma, and Trauma took a deal where like you agreed not to win on your turn, and I just looked and I was like, if Chase untaps, Chase just wins. And that's kind of what I felt like in that situation. It was like if Sisse hits the board, this game is over. It's just whenever you decide that you want it to be over. That's hilarious though. I don't know if you feel
yeah,
this. I don't know if you feel this way, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt what you were saying either. Do you feel like it's more right? Because I kind of felt this way whenever I was playing when I was playing the deck. Do you feel like it's more right to just hit the stuff around Sisse after Sisse activates versus like obviously hitting the Sisse?
like, are you talking about to like reduce the power and
Yeah,
things like that, or yeah? I think the correct play pattern is actually to remove the other pieces,
I was thinking that because
compared to Sisay, because like once Sisay gets to 3 power, um, it becomes a little bit more difficult, but you're still limited on your spots. Once Sisay gets to like 4 or 5 power, the game is almost over,
yeah,
right? Like as soon as Sisay gets to 5, it's just like you have pretty much access to your entire deck at that point in time. If you're able, like, say, if I don't know, you catch a Sisay in a spot where it's just like maybe they have a way of making extra of red and black somehow, and they only have like a Bloom Tender and a Derevi out. Like, don't go for the Bloom Tender. Try to remove the Derevi because then if they get a Sisay activation, they can only go for one. And like if they're doing that, they're grabbing either a Ragavan, a Cultist. You can grab Cradle and things like that, but like sometimes in those situations, it's not always in your best interest to grab those things as the Sisay pilot. Obviously, you could still continue to develop, but always hit the things that are actually buffing the Sisay, because a lot of the times what ends up happening is those are the combo pieces as well.
nope, I agree.
So, but we end day one with a win, and we were sitting at 9 points and undefeated for day one.
Now we went into day 2, and I was like, I want to get a win here, dude. I just want to like go ahead and lock. It'd be so sick. I'd be able to talk so much shit. And then I look at my very first pod, and Andy Beach is sitting in seat 1, and I'm like, sadness immediately put on the stack. It was bad. And then me in seat 2, Blue Farm in seat 3, and then Kennan in seat 4. Andy in seat 1 was actually on a list that me and you have talked about a lot, and you actually threw together for a video we were supposed to do with Critical EDH, Dog Sigh. But he was not playing.
Yeah.
He wasn't playing your version of the deck because yours is like very turbo. His was much more like Ristic Slop, Esper.
It was essentially Raw High, but in Esper.
Yep.
Yeah.
I asked Andy. I was like, "Would you play the deck again?" He was like, "No."
Right.
um, I fucked up royally in this game, and I actually, this was entirely on me. I think I communicated very poorly in this game, and I think I made myself way too big a threat too early. I didn't even give a fuck what else was around it. I saw like a fish, and then it ended up being to where like I essentially, in like my turn 1, I had a land, fish. I could pitch a Spirit Guide to cast a Soul Ring, and then Soul Ring into a Mana Vault. So I've got a shit ton of mana, but it's all like colorless mana. But that fish is never dying. Um, the blue farm plays like a fish, and then Kenan, I think, was holding up like a fairy mastermind, something like that. I don't remember what Andy did early, but because I had such a fast start like that, and then just kind of like petered out, it allowed Andy to basically point to me the entire game and be like, threat, 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 threat. He was able to get away with fucking murder this game. I eventually did get, I'm not even joking. It got to a point where I did have, I had fish. In my turn 2, I went into an Esper Sentinel. I eventually got out Sisay, and I got out an Agatha Soul Cauldron. Sisay was stuck on 2 power. So I basically, whenever I got back to my turn, like I was going to get like I think that this happened obviously before this, but before the Agathas ever came down, Andy cast a Smothering Tithe. He cast the Tithe, and the table is essentially looking at the Tithe, and he's like, this is my way of like staying on parity with him. He's going to draw cards. I'm going to get to have mana, blah, 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 blah. I can't really argue with that. Like, I'm like, okay, that's sound reasoning. And you don't have a draw engine. So, like, what do I care? Well, then Andy gets back to his turn and casts Silence. And he's got like 2 or 3 cards in hand. And immediately I'm like, and everybody's like just okay with the silence. And I'm like, no, I'm not okay with the silence. I'm like, what are you doing with the silence? And he shows a Time Twister. And I'm like, why not just cast the Time Twister? And he's like, I'm going to cast it. And I was like, yeah, because then you wheel into the win and then you win the game. And everybody was like, well, so I was the only one to fight the silence. And eventually another player was like, well, what if we just make a deal that like if you wheel into the win, you don't cast it? And he's like, okay, I won't do that. If I wheel into the win, I won't win. And they were like, okay. And I'm like, there's no fucking way. So he Time Twisters into this Smothering Tithe that makes like 20 something treasures. And then casts a Vamp Tutor, passes. This is when I drop Agathas and everything. So now he's like, oh, Agathas. And then like when he gets back to his turn, whatever. And I'm like, there's not a single creature in the yard. I cannot eat it to put a counter on Sisay. I literally get to come into my turn and I get to get a 1 or less. And they're like, you get Cradle, and then you just activate Sisay. And I'm like, my creature count is currently a 3. So like, even if I get Cradle, I can't do anything. I can't go get like, Derevi anyways, because I'm stuck on 1 or less. Cradle does not buff Sisay. And I'm explaining this. He talks the blue farm player into keeping their fish around, so they're tapped out at this point. Kenan's got mana and is kind of doing some stuff setting up. He gets back to Andy's turn. Andy had tutored up Necropotence and just cast Necro. And he somehow, again, convinces the table that this is his way of keeping up with me. And I'm like, Andy, I cannot win on my turn. I'm not going to win on my turn. There's no way for me to like just be like, haha, gotcha. Like I even showed, like I was like, I'm probably going to in-step Flash Thompson, and then that means I get to go get a 2 or less. But even still, like if I go get a 2 or less, like, all right, I can't in-step activate. I have to do it in my main phase. So like I Flash Thompson, whatever. I can now go get a 2 or less. But like again, I don't have any 2 or lesses that are just going to win me the game like out of nowhere. Right. So like, again, like, and I won't activate. Like if you want, I'll even activate and I'll let them decide like what I go get. Andy just proceeds to like somehow talk them into letting him have this Necropotence, and he proceeds to just like rip 35 into this Necro. And before he gets to his turn or in step, I just cast Silence, and I'm like, you're gonna win, but you're gonna win with 7 cards. Like I don't know what to tell you. And it finally gets to the point where he picks it up, he sculpts, he in response to the Necro triggers. I immediately am like, I'm going to eat any creature that you put in yard. I was hoping he'd drop like something that was important, like a Ranger Captain, and I was going to eat it and then crack it again and be like, you're not winning, sorry. But no, he didn't. The only creature he pitched out of like this massive grip of cards was like a Subtlety. That was the only creature that was pitched. So I was like, wow, this is insane. But one of the he goes and he starts to cast stuff, and immediately as he's starting to cast things, the blue farm player is like, I'm only casting stuff if we agree to play for the draw. And I should have counter offered there and like been like, hey, listen, like this is a clear push. if we agree to play for the draw, like this allows him to just push, and then if he doesn't get there, he gets a draw. He gets a point out of it anyway. I cannot win on my turn. I'm not gonna win on my turn. I will literally I'll show you my hand, yada yada yada. And I did show my hand, but he was like, no, I'm gonna play for the draw. After I'd seen his hand, the blue farm player had win if he got back to his turn, which is crazy. So like I don't know why he just like played for the draw, but he ended up making top cut anyways though. So I mean he did fine, but yeah. So I was like, okay, I guess like you've got me by the balls here. I'll play for the draw. And so we immediately start interacting, and Andy casts a spell, they go to counter it, Andy casts a spell, they go to counter it, Andy casts a spell, they go to counter it. And then finally there's a Tainted Pact on the stack, and the Kennen player's like, do I interact here? And I'm like, yeah, I just interact with it. And he was like, well, why? And I was like, well, because he's got 2 cards left in hand. I was like, if he's trying to push for a win, he's an Esper. His only win line is Thassa. So he either has Thassa or a way to get it and a Born Upon a Win. So you counter the Tainted, it forces him to cast Born Upon a Win. You counter the Born, and then that's the end. That's it. You've stopped the push, and you end up with a point. And so he goes, okay. So he counters the Tainted, and Andy casts Born. He counters the Born, and Andy goes, I'll take a draw. And I was like, yep. And so we walk out of that one with a point. But I felt so irritated after that one, I guess, because like I felt like I didn't do a good job in that game for myself to like I let myself get painted as like this massive threat when I don't think I was anywhere near as like threatening as I was, because again I did not have a way to win on my turn. I legit.
It is every CSA pilot's
Yep.
like nightmare scenario, right? That is the worst part about playing the deck, and it goes back to that comment earlier of like CSA is just a fair deck. Like you just said that Andy literally only had like 2 or 3 cards in hand, and then like he was able to like convince the other players to allow for him to be allowed to drop a necro, and then like push, and like them just not seeing it. And it goes back to where we've talked about in videos of like people see like blue farm or esper piles and things like that and go, oh yeah, they're gonna be table police. No, they're fucking not. They are not going to be table police. They are going to point stuff out, and they are going to like fearmonger like one player at the table, and it's often going to be the pilot that does not play into the strategy of what their deck is trying to do, and that's exactly what Sisei does. As far as like, and it's like, and I almost hate to say this, but I almost feel like this is the one game that you had where it's like you are fighting for your life in the at that table.
Yeah.
That was my whole tournament experience. I was fighting for my own fucking life.
Yeah.
It's to say.
What was crazy is I was interacting, trying to stop like Andy's stuff. Like obviously I was not okay with the necro, but it just worked out to where like whenever I just wheeled into like just silence. And I think I had like I think I had silence, and I had like a redirect spell. But yeah, that was essentially it. So like I was just kind of cooked at that point. I was very upfront. I was very face up with the players. I was like, hey, this is what I'm working with. I immediately after that event, I went up to Andy and I was like, hey, how did you do that? And he like explained everything to me, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I immediately reached out to like Zach Adler, and I reached out to Kaiser, both of them, and I was like, hey, Zach, what do I do in this instance? And he like gave me a breakdown, and then I messaged Kaiser, who like, this is fucking crazy. Kaiser has played in like, I forgot what Zach said, but like he's really big at like corporate business type stuff, and like does a lot with sales and like negotiation, and that was what he calls like, rather than calling it politics, he calls it like negotiating in CDH. I think he has like 10 events that he's played in, or like 11 events on Top Deck, and he has topped all but one. So like the dude is bananas. He doesn't get to play very often and doesn't go to tournaments very often, but when he does well. And what's crazy is like the event where like Kevin Simmons, I think it might have been the Boil, or was it the Boil? I don't remember. It was something. It was some event where, or no, Royal Rumble. He literally like got second place. He was the one that was the scion of the Ur Dragon.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And last year he got like 4th place, so topped that event also. And I think he was on like Tameshi, which is fucking crazy. But yeah, very good player. So I reached out to both of them and was like, hey, questions. And I watched that video back again. But yeah, I don't want that to happen again. I don't want to be like painted as a threat. And I was also watching Zach's video where he's talking about Rogthras. And it was really cool because that was something else that one of the Rogthras players was talking about. Like, because you're so on board with everything, it's very easy to paint you as the threat. So sometimes, like, you won't, like, even if you have Cradle in your hand turn 1, you sometimes won't just play Cradle turn 1 because it's so easy to be like, like you'll wait. So yeah.
Well, I'd hope you wouldn't play Cradle in turn 1 if you don't have a creature on the field and can't do shit after that. But
you play Rograk, play Cradle, tap Cradle.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about for Sisse.
Oh yeah, fuck that. Yeah. Play Rograk in the 99 of Sisse.
See, we're opposites in that way, where I am just like full send commit to the board.
And that's why you're fighting for your life this whole fucking event.
Hey, but you know what? It's fun. Like I can honestly say, even though I'm fighting for my life the entirety of this event, and it's just like I am constantly in this position where it's just like the entire table is just like, hey, we need to turn this into a 3v1 or Chase wins. Like, there's something to that that's really fun about it at times now, because it, like, in our local setting, it's not as fun because a lot of the times it just feels like, oh, Chase is on this deck, so we got to make sure you can't do anything before we even start. And then I get in a tournament setting where I may have had some experience playing with some of the competitors, or maybe they're familiar with me or things like that. But a lot of the times, this is my first time sitting down and playing with them, and it's a very competitive game. Like, if I win, it's because I felt like I earned it, or I felt like I had to work my ass off in order to get it. And that's the part that's rewarding to me in this setting. So like, yeah, I'm fighting for my life in like every single round that I played, but it's not because of trying to like sandbag things at times or trying to do this, that, and the other. Like, I'm not afraid to jam in this deck, and if I get stopped, it's so resilient that it almost doesn't even matter at times. And round 6 is almost an example of that. So going into day 2, in rounds,
I'm currently 2-1 and 3 at this point. But go ahead, sorry.
Okay. So in round 6, I am sitting in seat 1. It's me at seat 1, Rog is Shy Pilot in seat 2, Raymond on Rogthras, which I think you played with at some point during the event.
And then Raymond in my next round.
Nice. And then a TNT Pilot in seat 4. I kept an insanely sketchy hand, but this is a testament to what I just said as far as the commitment to it, where it's just like, hey, if you all don't have answers, I am going to run away with this game. So I kept a 1-land hand, which is like just not good in general. But I have been known to keep no land hands and somehow be able to be okay in those scenarios. So I kept a 1-land hand, and I go turn 1 Bloom Tender because I go like Command Tower, Lotus Petal, Bloom Tender. Cool, we're fine. Turn 2, I missed my fucking land drop, but I cast Tam. So turn 2 Tam. All right, we have Wooburg already on board by turn 2. We are cooking. Turn 3, I cast I tap Tam, make Tam Wooburg, tap Bloom Tender, cast Sisse, cast Relic of Legends. I had another land, I dropped it, and I'm sitting there with an Orcish Bowmaster, I think a Deadpool, and like a couple other cards in hand. Or like an Abrupt Decay, an Orcish Bowmaster, a Deadpool, and one other card. And I'm just like, we're fine. we are fine for whatever happens here. And that's when the table starts talking, because if it gets back to my turn at that point, I just win. I just straight up win. I activate Tam. Sisse is now a 7/7. I'm tapping Bloom Tender. I'm doing Derevia Mill stuff. I had enough extra mana to be able to do it all. Like, again, it was one of those hands where it's just like, if this works out in my favor, I'm pushing on turn 4, which is what like, sometimes, yeah, the deck can push a little bit sooner than that, but it can be a very consistent turn 4 push. And I if you can't stop it, then GG's. Well, the Raw Gishai player was able to drop an Ashling, the one that, like, whenever you cast spells and then it, like, if it's your second spell, like, cast for the turn, you can, like, blow up everything on the table. Yeah. So I was just like, oh, okay, cool. But they cast it and then passed. Right, it gets to Raymond's turn. He has a Vibrance that he casts. So I'm like having to kind of talk him off a ledge of, like, because they're like, I think the Bloom Tender's the right thing to be able to hit here, things like that. And I was just like, okay, well, hold up. Like, you can target that, but, like, one, if you do, it completely takes me out of the game. And if that's where you're at, then that is what it is. But Raw Gishai's gonna get out of hand, and so on. So it is a little bit of the fear mongering directed at me, but I was able to kind of talk him into just like targeting the TAM. And I'm like, okay, cool. There goes my plan. It is what it is. And we're just gonna keep trying to develop, right? And so goes into TNT player's turn. I had already shown the Raw Gishai pilot that my OBM, because they were kind of threatening to blow up my board, and, like, I was like, okay, but I can also do this, and, like, if you start drawing a bunch of cards here, like, you know, I can interact with the board, and, like, keep Rogthras in check, keep TNT in check, but we gotta be able to work through all this stuff. And if you're just gonna try to, like, blow up my shit, like, then I have no other choice, right? Um, so at one point, it gets to the point where, like, the TNT player is, like, overly developing uh, in that rotation. So I drop OBM in response to some draws. Um, I kind of blow up a few, or actually, I think I just deal damage to, like, face at that point, because I was just like, I don't think right now is a good point to, like, pick things off, because we all still need to deal with Raw Gishai. And then they cast a Mockingbird and make a clone of the OBM. Lovely. So now they have their own OBM. They killed mine. They kept my Bloom Tender around, thankfully, um, for at least like a few more turns, or things like that. Gets back to me, and like, whenever I made that comment a little bit ago, just how resilient Sisay just feels. Like, I was drawing into pieces where it was just like, hey, like, I'm gonna put this on the board, and I'm able to kind of talk my way through things, and yada yada yada. Like, I think that um in that turn, the TNT player had dropped a Cabbage Merchant, so I just went on ahead and straight up was able to cast my Deadpool in exchange of the text box. And they were like, well, we're worried about this. And, like, Raymond had an Enduring Vitality out, and they were like, Roggish, I was just like, we need to do something about it, or, like, like, what are you trying to do on your turns, or with these activations, or what are you thinking? Like, and I was working in a way where, like, with the table, I had to a lot in that, where it was just like, look, I know both are bad. I know I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this. Like, this is kind of the position that we're in. If I take the Cabbage Merchant, he already said it, like, he just kind of cast it to put it out there. It doesn't really impact him whatsoever. If I take it, he's already said that. And he has a OBM. So if you're wanting me to interact with his board state, you're going to have to let me get back into the game. I know if I take the text box of the Enduring Vitality here, then the threat just continues to be put on me, and I don't want to put that much aggro on me right now. So I'm not really willing to take the Enduring Vitality, even though it's the best option on the table. Like, I'm not going to do that. What is it that we can kind of agree on? And so ended up taking Cabbage, but the Raw Gishai was able to, like, Enlighten Tutor in response to the cast of the Deadpool, and just straight up tutored Underworld Breach. Yeah. So it was just like, okay, now I feel like I'm actually more inclined to take the Enduring Vitality. And then that's whenever we kind of started talking, and I was just like, okay, like, if you're okay with me, taking the Cabbage Merchant, text here. I'm going to leave the Enduring Vitality because the board state's really bad, but we're kind of in a position where we're having to work together in order to deal with the Raw Gishai, and he's going to end up wiping most of my board anyway. And like when it got back into his turn, he looked at my board and was just like, "Oh, you still have an activation." Like I had the Orc Army, I had the Bloom Tender, I had Sisay out, I had the Deadpool that was the Cabbage Merchant text. So like I was literally just a blue pip short, and all I had to do was tap down a like one of my legends in order to fulfill that requirement. So I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, it was just like regardless of what they were able to do, I was always in a position where I could like put on an activation. And I did at times where it was just like, hey, like, I can't be completely out of this game. Like, what are we agreeing on here? Like, what can I get? What is it that is going to be the less threatening here? Things like that. It did eventually get to a point where, like, if it had gotten back to my turn, I would have won. Raymond is, I think, about to pass his turn, and the TNT player is just like, you have to deal with the Sisay board like right now. Like I can't do anything, and like if Chase gets an activation and just goes and grabs Teferi, like he just wins. And this was kind of one of those like learning opportunities where like if you're in a match and someone is like really overly threat assessing you and like doing the fear mongering stuff, and they're doing it in a way where they're like talking to the like one specific player that can interact before it goes into their turn, like alarm bells should be going off. Like those are moments where you need to be saying something. And thankfully, like it was kind of a situation where I didn't really had to, because it was more of like Raymond and I we agreed on a deal, and we kind of, I don't know if we saw like what was happening eye to eye, but if he had gone in favor of the TNT player where he just like completely messed up my board, or like it was a weird interaction with Deadpool, what was going on. Raymond was attempting to clever impersonate my Deadpool so that way he could steal the Cabbage Merchant text off of my Deadpool and put it onto his Deadpool. I don't know. Is weird layering confusion going on, but had he tried to like remove pieces from my board, I wouldn't have had an activation. The only piece of removal I could have gotten at that point was Urtai, and it was a good thing that I didn't even have to really kind of talk him off a ledge, because we went into the TNT player's turn, and like we were getting close to time, and it was pretty questionable. Like I felt like there was some intentional slow play, so it should have been like a instance where I called a judge over. Like there's one point they were trying to like, I think, demonic tutor for something, and we have like less than 5 minutes on the clock, and they grab a card and set it on top of their library, and kind of like this sense of like, is this the right one I want to get? And like then they sat down, they're about to shuffle, and they're like, oh no, maybe I'm gonna go with this card instead. And then they start like looking through the deck again, and that wastes like 3 minutes of the clock. And so like they're trying to resolve like Grand Abolishers and Voices of Victories, and we're fighting through it. And I did have to interact in a way which made me use my mana to go grab Urtai to stop a Grand Abolisher. And like they're trying to fight through all this, yada yada yada. And then it gets into the time, and they're like, then they start taking more game actions where they're just like, oh, now I have 20 minutes, I can go a little bit faster now. So it definitely should have been a judge call, or at least like call for slow play later on. So again, learning lesson number 2 in that. But what ended up happening was that the Raw Gishai player ended up winning over the top of them anyway, because they had drawn so many cards and they had a bunch of mana and everything else. And it was kind of funny because like Baldy came over there and sat next to us and was like watching the clock, and like the TNT player was just like, I need you to like go through your actions like one step at a time. Like he couldn't just shortcut the brain freeze loop. The TNT player was just like, we have to do this one at a time. And like literally he was like flipping the cards over very slowly and things like that to continue running out the clock. And he finally got it off, milled everyone out, did a Fairy Mastermind activation. We looked to see if we had anything that was going on. And as soon as I shook the Rogishai player's hand, that was time. Like as soon as he put the activation on the stack and we talked about it and we all passed on it, boom, 20 minutes is over, round's over. And Baldy's like, is that a clear winner? Like did we concede? And yes. So that was my first loss of the event to the Rogishai pilot, and I think they actually placed 16th, so they made top cut, which was really cool. And something that I thought was really cool afterwards too was like I didn't really get the chance to talk to everyone at the table because then we were going in the next round. But he looked at me at the end and was just like, "Dude, you played that like literally the best that you could." He was just like, "They fearmongered you a whole lot," and so like that's what happens. But I think that you played that very, very well, and you tried to politic and like do all these things. So like it was kind of a cool moment where it's just like, oh, these skills of like talking people off a ledge and pointing things out and using my words and using my activations in a way that don't seem as threatening, even though my board presence is extremely threatening to like keep myself in the game is actually working. And like people recognize that during the round. So it was a really good match. Kind of a little bit questionable there towards the end, but glad I got to play it. Glad to play against that pilot in particular, just because it was just a really good game.
Hell yeah. No, my last game, I also got Rogishide, not gonna lie. But it was Raymond, so C1 on Rog Thras, and then Tai Ohio in C2 on Rogishai. Me and C3 on Sisei. C4 was a blue farm. And this game was like really funny. But Raymond kept like we all mulled low. That was the bad thing. So we all mulled really low, and blue farm included. Raymond kept a really questionable hand that couldn't make blue mana, so he couldn't get into Thras and start doing activations. But he also was like kind of just stuck because then he couldn't advance his board. And there was a moment where he had like a known Besage You, and I essentially was like, hey, I'll make a deal with you because I had a Forbidden Orchard. I was like, I'll give you a 1-1 so you can advance your board a little bit if you'll never use the Besage You on any of my stuff. And he was like, deal, I'll take that. I was like, bet. And so I gave him the 1-1. He honored that the whole time. I mean, it was like the most heads up play. Like it was fantastic. It was and it saved my ass a lot. But eventually it got to a point to where I had I'm trying to remember what exactly happened, but I think that Blue Farm had dropped a Necro and like ripped quite a few cards to like sculpt. I can't remember specifically what happened. On my turn, we knew we were gonna have to deal with that, so I ended up having like a finale for X's 2, and I thought about just going to getting Lavinia. And then, of course, Tai Ohio was like, no, that shuts me off. I can't interact, blah, 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 blah. And I should have just been like, yeah, fuck off. Like, I don't care. I love you, Tai, but I should have been like, nah, bro, I don't care. Did not do that. I should have done that. So instead, I went and got a Fairy Mastermind, and we just started drawing cards. And Blue Farm is sitting there. It took me a minute. I will say it did take me a minute to resolve the finale because I wasn't sure. We were talking about like Lavinia or that. Well, then the Blue Farm player gets into their turn and they're sitting there looking at their hand, debating, all that stuff. And Tai basically is like, hey, I need you to take a game action. And the Blue Farm player was like, look, you all just took a really long time, resolving the finale. I'm debating like right now whether or not like I just full send it here or I don't. I'm debating right now. Like I really want to make top cut. And I immediately just tried to like de-escalate the situation. I was like, hey, look, like you're right. It did take me a long time to like resolve the finale. I understand like you're debating on a necropile. Take your time. But I also knew that this is really fucked up of me and I'm so sorry. But with the way that their mana was, they didn't really have like access to all of their enablers. Like they couldn't make double red for finale or Final Fortune, I mean. And they could make enough to do Flood Caller or Born. So I was like, send it. Like I just told them, I was like, send it. And then I sat there and shut the fuck up. And they were like, yeah, I send it. And they sent it. They did not get there. So yeah, I kind of felt like an asshole for that. But I knew the guy. He actually has a twin. So they're twins and they play together. And I think played like LobbyCon or something with his other twin. He really cool. But which was really cool. But yeah, I ended up forgot what I did. I set up a pretty good board state. Like I was feeling really good. I mean, it was bananas. And it got to a point to where it was basically just Ty and Raymond trying to 1v1 or 2v1 me. Because the other farm player, the farm player literally, when they realized they couldn't get there, they just paid 2 more life in a necro and killed themselves. And they were like, I'm out of here. And I was like, I don't blame you. And then they made it known. They were like, hey, if y'all take a draw, like, well, I'll accept a draw. Okay. And then they got up and left. So then we all knew, like, we all needed a win and in. So we're all going back and forth. And I put 4 win attempts on the stack, and every freaking one got stopped. I mean, I was like, it was bananas. I was like, send it. And at one point, like, they're trying to like path the Sisay, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go get herb swords. I always forget, whatever, fucking swords or path. And I go and get Tam. So immediately, like, it fizzles. So then Ty like has to Otawara the Sisay back to hand. I recast the Sisay. Raymond packs the Sisay. I recast the Sisay. Like, it was so stupid.
Oh my God.
It was so stupid. And it just kept happening. Like, I kept putting wins. And finally, I got to a situation where I had a Feyburrow Elder on board. And I could make, at that point, like, I think I was missing like a Black Pip. And I cast a Tyvar. And immediately they're like, you just win. If this resolves, you just win. And so Ty Ohio immediately is like, well, what do you got? What do you got? What do you got? Like, talking to Raymond. And I'm like, Raymond, stop fucking making deals with him. Like, he is drawing so many cards. Like, he's going to win the game. Stop doing this. And Raymond does a Thrasios activation, hits a fierce. And I'm like, fuck. So then I'm finally like, Raymond, I'll make a deal with you. I was like, I would like to have some mana on my turn. Please just let this resolve, and I will not cast this A, and I'll just pass my turn. And he's like, you do that? And I was like, yeah, I would do that. And he goes, bet, I won't cast the fierce. And then Ty's like, if he gets back to his turn, he just wins. And he goes, I don't care. He has to get back to his turn. And so Raymond goes into his turn, starts trying to do some stuff. Resolves like a Seedborn Muse. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? So I'm like, then Ty gets into his turn, and we're getting really close to time at this point. And Ty has like Ristic, and he has a Tithe, and he has like double fairy. It's fucking stupid. And he immediately goes, well, I'm just gonna go for it. And he casts fucking copy enchantment targeting Tithe. And I'm like, and this is where it happens. And then the stack starts going, and we start fighting, and immediately it hits time and round. And I just immediately sat there for a second, and I go, I'm going to be real honest. Only reason I gave a shit about this game is because obviously it was like a win and in. Draw does nothing for me here. And I looked at Raymond, and I was like, do you have a way to win at like instant speed right now? And Raymond was like, no. And I was like, I don't either. And I just looked at Ty. I was like, Ty, if you can just show us like how you're going to, like, I know you can do the double fairy Tithe thing. Like, can you just show us the win? And I'll concede to you. And he shows me an Angel's Grace. And I was like, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'll concede.
Oh my God.
So
what a way to end it.
I know. So I lost my winning into an Angel's Grace. What a world. But yeah.
What a bad card.
Fantastic.
What an awful, shitty card.
Fantastic card. So yeah, so we just conceded, and Ty won that. And I think that if it kept playing out anyways, Ty would have won. So it wasn't like we just gave him a win. But I think if it did keep playing out, Ty was going to win that game anyway. But we just kind of like, we were like, fuck it, we're not going to keep making you play for it. Like, at this point, you're the only player that can actually get a dub in this point. And like, you've showed us that you could win. Like, you've got it, brother. And we all shook hands and bowed out. And I was like, fuck no. So yeah, I finished the event 2, 2, and 3. I had 13 points, and it put me 25th overall out of 212. So this is a good deck.
Yes. But okay, so I feel like this is pretty unfortunate. I felt like every round I played was a good round. Up until this round. Oh, like even my win in day 1, I felt better about that game and the way it played out than this game. So, okay, we are in round 7. And like I can't Like, I already lost round 6. Even if I win this, I'm only going to be at 14 points. So I'm not making top cut. I think the bubble was like, what, 15? Something like
15.
that. And so I'm like one shy of it. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, if I had drawn the last round, if it had gone to a draw and then I won this one, there was a chance. There was a chance, right? With the bubble being 15. Slim chance, but a chance nonetheless. I was actually going to drop. And then I got paired. And it's me and it's Brandon Lucia of Pinnacle in this pod. And if you've kept up with the channel for a while, anytime I've played against Brandon, he has won with my Sisay list because he plays Emrakul. And he just Emrakuls, targets me, and kills the table and wins the game. So I was like, I have to redeem myself. Like, I have to play against Brandon now. Like, I can't just drop out of this event. I'm paired against Brandon at a big event. Of course I'm going to play this round. And so it's me in seat 1. It is a Rawgishai pilot in seat 2, a Rao pilot in seat 3, and Brandon in seat 4. And I'm like, cool. We are cooking. Like, we are good. We got a good seat. Brandon's in seat 4. He ain't gonna do fucking shit. And we are fine. We are fine. And um I'm gonna preface the round with this. We get to the table, and the RAL pilot, they ask if any of us are trying to go to the Top Deck Invitational, and talking about how they are trying to get points, so that way they can get into the event and go with their girlfriend. And they were just asking the table, like, hey, do you all need, like, are you all trying to play it out for the points or things like that? And we're just kind of like, no, not really, and it's just the last round of the event. And so I'm going to preface this round with that part of the conversation. So we resolve our mulligans. I think I went to a 6. And this was such a stupid start. Like, the last hand was insanely sketchy. This was just gas, right? So it was like, so in my turn 1, I drop a land, I drop a Mox Diamond, I cast a Kennen, I drop a Mox Amber, I drop an Arcane Signet, and I pass the turn. So and I have like a crop rotation in hand. And I'm just like, we are set. We are good. How do we lose this game? And Rawgishai, I think they drop an Esper Sentinel and maybe a something else pass. Ral casts Ral on turn 1. Brandon drops, I think, some rocks and drops a Grafdigger's Cage. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Now we're a little bit more shut out now. We're a little, but that's fine. We can get around this. We're fine, right? I think I draw into Cabbage Merchant, and I'm like, okay. So turn 2, drop Sisay and Cabbage Merchant. So Sisay's at 4 power already because of the Kennen. And then I going into the next turns or whatever, it may have just been I cast Sisay. Is one of those things. All I remember at one point is that I had Sisay, Kennen, Cabbage Merchant, and Selvala out on like before turn 4, and all these rocks. Like, I'm just like, how do I lose? I'm like, this is my chance. I can finally get Brandon back for all the times he's used the tentacles against me. But as fate would have it, I got stopped, and it wasn't by Brandon. So at this point, Brandon had really developed, had a bunch of rocks, had the Grafdiggers still out, had the had a fish out. The Rawgishai had 2 Esper Sentinels out. We're looking at Esper Sentinel and Mockingbird. Cool. They have draw engines. Ral goes, how do you all feel about a wheel? I only have a crop rotation in hand. That's all I had. And we were just like, honestly, like, it's okay, but I think that it's not the best thing to probably do right here because they had like a decent sized hand at that point. I think Brandon had kind of sculpted a hand. I think I made the comment of like, hey, if you do will, like, I have a big onboard presence, but like it just kind of continue. It just puts me back into the game even more if you do that. So will's probably not the best thing. So they're like, okay, and I think they grabbed pyrokinesis, looking at my board state and the two Esper Sentinels, and I was just like, fuck, okay, okay, this is what we're doing here, and so they jammed it, and so I made the comment, I was just like, is there any way I can talk you off of doing this? Like, I know obviously my board state is bad. Like, as far as I'm in a really good spot, I cannot disprove that. Like, it's I'm in a really good position. But the moment you drop this, like the Raw Shy Pilot doesn't have the draw engines. I am lower on, like I'm almost out of this game because I don't have anything else in hand that can kind of get me back into it. And we're not going to be able to fight through what Brandon has. And he's already locked me out to some extent. Like I'm kind of limited on what I can get because of the craft digger's cage. Like, so what can we talk about here? I even showed them the crop rotation and they were just kind of like, no, I'm gonna do it anyway. And um they did that. They blew up most of my board. I had Savala and Sisse left. Ragish, I didn't have anything. Brandon was not impacted by it whatsoever.
I don't think Brandon has a
Right?
single fucking creature, but yeah, like
Like
Hullbreaker, and that's
Brandon,
it.
Displacer
Tally.
Kitten.
Oh, kitten.
But like, and probably Esper Sentinel and things like that. But like, I literally said like, if you do this, like you were just gonna throw the game in his favor. Like that's all that's going to happen. And it was like pyrokinesis, cast a couple more spells, try to trigger Ral, feed the fish a little bit more, and then pass turn. And of course, Brandon's gonna like continue holding the fish up, like with a Ral at the table and Raw Gishai at the table. Like he's gonna continue to do that. And like I still had a big enough Sisse, and I had a few cabbage, like I had like 4 cabbages or something like that. I was able to like at one point I tutored, or going in my turn I tutored for Agathas and ate my cabbage merchant and put a counter on Sisse. So that way, then I could you do the cabbage merchant activated ability to just tap my cabbages down still. Um, it didn't really matter, but I would grab that piece because like I think in Brandon's turn he had cast in a ranger captain, and so I'm just like, oh, if Brandon tries to go off and it goes under the ranger captain, I can in response eat the ranger captain and prevent him from going off. And I think when like after doing that, I got back to my turn, I drew a Birds of Paradise and I cast it. So it's just like I'm gonna drop this bird. I don't really have anything else I really want to do here, so I'll pass. And what kind of sucks is like I talked about it with him afterwards. If I had just like put another activation and grabbed Teferi in that moment, then I think I actually could have just won. But I was just like, I need to kind of keep it a little bit like in my head. I was like, I need to keep it a little slower because I don't know what interaction he actually has, and if I don't win in that moment, the Row's just gonna like try to pop off, or they're gonna do something that just feeds Brandon. Raw Gishai kind of develops a little bit with like a Smothering Tithe and some other enchantment that it was a weird Jeskai enchantment where anytime they cast a non-creature spell, they draw a card. So like they were just like replenishing and feeding themselves cards anytime they would cast something. Not a traditional card in Raw Gishai, but it was kind of cool to see. Um, so it got back to the Route player's turn. And of course, guess what they did? They fed Brandon a fuck ton of cards, a ton of cards. And like I think that we ended up willing anyway. He cast like a Born Upon a Wind in response. It went unresolved. He was able to drop a bunch of rocks from his hand. The Rail pilot just kept going. Like he was still on had flash speed things he could do. We got to a point where like um where Brandon was trying to remove my Agatha's Soul Cauldron because the Rail pilot was like threatening to push wins, and he did not. It was like me and Brandon playing chicken. Like the whole time, we were looking at each other and we were going, what the fuck is this Row pilot doing? Like, why are they pushing into a Grafdigger's cage and a fish? And I think even by this point, there was a Draenith out. So it's just like, why are we continuing to push and just hand the game to Brandon? And Brandon knew that, but obviously he's not going to say anything about it because, like, he has a good opportunity to win. So he has to remove my Agathas. And we get into this whole stack where, like, the Row pilot's like almost like trying to like protect Brandon's stuff or working deals with Brandon in a way where, like, they don't get like screwed out of the game. And finally, I just had to activate Agatha's because he refused to crack the Ranger Captain. And in response to whatever the will was, I ended up eating a reiterate. So I just gone ahead and just like get rid of a big combo piece out of the Row deck anyway. Um, and so they're just like, okay. And then that's when we wheeled. I drew into a bunch of interaction and some good pieces. Goes into Brandon's turn. Like, he cast Shorekai, I think. I drew some cards, something. Uh, gets to my turn. I don't really do a whole lot because the Grafdiggers is still out. And at this point, I think that I couldn't get Sisay up enough in power to go grab Teferi after. I don't know, something weird had happened to where I couldn't do it all. And then Rogish, just like explodes out of nowhere after it all. Then Ral continues to try to push on their turn. They get stopped. We end up going to time. Is essentially what happened. We go to time in Brandon's instep, so we could have gone into my turn. But then, like, Brandon was like, I have 3 pieces of removal. He had like Path, he had swords, and he had Vanquish the Horde. And like, he's just like, you're not getting there, big dog. And I was just like, okay, we'll take a draw. So remember the little thing I told you about before we started the round, as far as the Route pilot was talking about the points. They had the audacity to ask if we wanted to concede to them after they essentially threw the game in Brandon's favor, would refuse to make deals unless it really was not beneficial or unless the points of interaction just really messed with their board state. And like, just kind of, I don't even know how to, well, I know how to explain it, but it's some few choice words that are not appropriate for the YouTubes and the podcast listeners. But it was like Brandon shut that shit down right away. He was just like, no, we'll take a draw, but I'm not conceding to you. So yeah, they were trying to, like, I guess, utilize the whole like, oh, I want to go to the Envy with my girlfriend thing in order to, I don't know, get pity points, I guess. And in my head, and I talked to Brand about this afterwards, I was just like, why would I concede to someone that literally just like kingmate and like just like complained about things at times and just like threw the game so badly that they weren't even in a winning position, but they were just like, oh, pity me. Please give me the win.
There's
Like, no.
a John Mulaney skit where he talks about that, but he's like, he talks about the difference between like having like a girlfriend versus like being married. And then he's like, somebody like looked at it, he's like, get away from my wife. Like, like this very, like, it sounds like this very powerful sentence versus being like, like you hop, like you're getting on a plane and you want your significant other to sit next to you and it's like, can my girlfriend come? But I don't know why. That was what I thought of. Like, I want to go to the invitation with my wife. I've probably been like, yeah, I concede. But he's like, yeah, I want to go with my girlfriend. I'd be like, no.
Yeah. It's just really awkward. Like, it was very odd. It, like, I don't know. Like, maybe if you had like actually put up a real win attempt and had like shown that you had win or could win over the top somehow in Raoul or things like that, that might have been like a semi different story. But like, if you're so opposed to trying to make deals in a way that actually benefits you and the table, and then you almost hand deliver a game to one pilot, like, Like, no, fuck off. Like, we're not going to concede to you. And Brandon, even afterwards, that's whatever. He was just like, some people are afraid to be like the bad guy in those situations, but I wasn't going to put the two of you in that boat. I was just going to shut it down. So that's why I said no right away. So,
I just don't think Brennan gives a fuck about anything though. That's the thing.
oh
Is
no.
like
I think any opportunity to bully people he will try to take. So I'm just glad I wasn't on the receiving end of it this time. And I wouldn't
I
even say it's bullying. I think it's just more of like he saw it the same way I did. Of like he made the comment. He was just like, as soon as they started talking about the envy points before we even started the round, I knew where this game was going or how they were about to treat this game. And so I felt like he and I were kind of on the same page throughout the duration of the match, where it was just kind of like, well, why are they interacting this way, or why are they making these plays? Why are they like king making and like not willing to do this, that, and the other? And so like it's kind of what I said earlier. Like this unfortunately was the only round where I was just like that felt bad. Like, I don't feel like me playing like, the way I played, I felt good. I felt good. Obviously, I felt good playing with Brandon. Like, as much shit as we give one another and as many times as he's beaten me with my own deck, I love playing with him. Like, he's such a good pilot for being the number 3 Shorokai pilot. Like, he's so good. I just really, yeah, I love that dude. But it just, I don't know, we both kind of walked away from the table like just a little bit of bad taste in our mouth.
yeah. I don't know. All I know is that at the end of the event, I had a great fucking time. Sisei's fun.
Oh
And
yeah, no, I had a great time. I had a great time at the event. I thought you like what threw me off guard after we got done with our rounds is like for those of you that have met Blake in person or know him like in our locals that listen to us or the Nashville area, if you have met Blake, you know he's a very social person. I don't think Blake wanted to talk to a single fucking person after we got done with 2 days of Magic. He was
bro,
so ready to go home
it
and just
wasn't
dead tired.
that was the problem. I just don't sleep enough at these events, bro. I go to bed at like, I mean, fuck, right now we're recording this shit and it's like almost 11. I go to bed at like 9:30. Like I'm in bed so early, and that's part of the reason why like I just don't jam a lot too during the week, because like the games last so fucking long. They haven't lasted as long now because I don't like over politic and I'm not afraid to just like fuck it, I'll lose a game. Uh, that was actually good advice I got from Grant, like the dude that won the whole event afterwards. I was like,
Yeah.
it's like, what made you so good at CDH? And he was like, I just don't give a shit. And I was like, okay, fair enough. But yeah. But no, like I said, I just had a good time, and like I'm not gonna lie, I will say like my whole goal for this event, I did not think I was gonna top cut this event, especially going into it with a deck that like I was not familiar with. My whole goal was just to do better so I could talk shit. That was
I know. And you know what? Usually Blake, he even made a comment about this at one point during our journey this past weekend. Usually he's trying to be like more positive and uplifting. And you know what? He tried a different strategy this time. He talked shit to me between every single round. And at one point, I think at the end of like day one, he was just like, "Did I mess with you that badly?" He's like, "Did I make you feel that bad that you
I,
couldn't win most of your matches except for this last one?" I was like, "Fuck you, buddy."
I
So
literally no,
he,
I did say to somebody, because like I was kind of feeling bad because obviously I wanted us to both make day two. Like at the end of the day, I want us to like both go into all of our games and fucking win everything. But obviously unless it's against each other. But I want us to go into the games and win. But I literally told Kellen where I was like, I felt really bad because you were in game 5 and it was like still going on. And I was like, I kind of feel like an asshole because like after every round, I've been over there just talking shit. And like, you always look so serious during your games. And I was like, I wonder if I've actually like put too much pressure on Chase to be like, fuck it, I will not do worse than Blake. And then now it's like fucking with him. He's like taking the game too serious. That was not the case. I don't think. I don't even think you gave a shit. You were just like, I'm just gonna play my
no,
game.
no, and like it's kind of like why I say the gathering is the most important part because like I welcome the banter and whatnot, and it makes for good content sometimes. So yeah, for those of you that keep keep track of things that we do. For this event, I went 1-1-5. Blake went 2 what?
2-2
2-2?
and 3.
2-2-3. So he played Sisay, and his only 2 wins were essentially Esper style wins. He couldn't win with the way the actual deck is supposed to be played. So get wrecked, nerd. But he actually, outperformed me on this one. So I gotta give him his flowers a little bit. But this is gonna be the only time he ever fucking does it. And then if he does it again on Sisay, I'm gonna eat my words. But until then,
I'm about to
fuck
play.
you.
I'm telling you, bro, it's so good. It's the best Esper deck in the format. You just
Oh,
fucking you
that
just
pains me to hear. Like literally, like it's one of those cringe
speed
moments
silence
again.
effects. Oh my
Oh my
god.
god,
Oh, it's so good.
that's not what it is. But yeah, no, like
Dude, you
I
could
have to
throw
give
in
you.
kitten into the deck and do the kitten to fairy. Oh.
Shut up. No, that's awful.
Jared was on it and he got second place.
Oh yeah, I yeah, but that's Jared. That's not you. So, but
And
yeah, congrats. Especially some of these people that made top 4. Like I know you were talking about Grant and him winning the event. You played against Jared, and him playing this like dope ass Sisay list. I think there was another Sisay pilot in top 4.
Zach
It
Hood.
was Zach Hood from Lemon Pepper Wet. He super cool. He's always been like super friendly whenever I've talked to him. I felt like this event he's a little bit more focused than he had been, but like when we've gone to game nights down in Tennessee and he's been there, like he's always been someone I felt like comfortable talking to and trying to like get insight on and Sisay, because even he has like a different style of playing. Like he plays, he's not. I don't think he's playing like Jolly Balloon Man, Village Bell Ringer type stuff, and like he's kicking ass in that deck too. And also got to give a shout out to Jake. This is not either of the Jakes that we talk about on the channel. This is Jake from Missouri, I believe. That he like came up to me at the expo and we got a picture together. We checked in all throughout the event together. He came down with a crew. That one of the guys that we talked about earlier, Cole, from that group that had the backpack, like he performed like super well on Rogsai. Ended up beating Jake in LobbyCon because he killed himself to a Final Fortune. He was playing VV and he was just like, dude, so many people like talk shit about this deck, or it's just like falling off the favor, like falling out of favor, and like yada yada yada. And then he fucking top 4s. And like, so congrats to him too.
He went
Super
in.
chills.
My
Do
bad. He
what?
he went in today too, needing to win both games and won
Oh yeah,
both
he was in the same
games.
position that I was in. Yeah. Like I had to win both of mine in order to make top cut. And like literally he won both games. He got his top 16 game. Like I just congrats to him. Like it was really cool hanging out with him and the group that he came with, and just super friendly guy. You were even talking to him the morning of day 2 with Max P, like just chilling out in the lobby while I'm trying to pack and load the car. And so yeah, like congrats to him as well. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully cross paths sometime soon at another big event, or who knows when.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The deck I played, by the way, for this event. If you want to play it, I'm sure it'll also be in the description. Don't, because it's fucking terrible. It needs to be updated. I did not tweak any. Like it was bad. I was just throwing random shit at the wall and hoping it stuck. But if you want to play Chase's list is actually like a tried and true tested Sisay list. And you can pick those up at Mana Vault Proxies. I did not play a single real card this entire event. I'm not even shitting you. I had to make those 3 edits, and I realized I didn't have any of the cards on me. I run over to the Mana Vault booth, and I'm like, "Hey, bro, do you have these cards?" And I immediately pull them out of a deck, and I'm like, and then they're just like, "Yeah, you got them, man. Good luck." And they just fucking let me have them, and I slid them into the deck, and we were rocking. So, yeah, shout out to them. They're fucking awesome, and yeah, their cards are the proxies are fantastic. Use
Hell
code
yeah.
GMC if you do end up buying any of our decks. And I really hope that my Cope Sisay list now has to go our like our hub.
Uh, I really hope it doesn't. But if it does go on there, and as Blake likes to say, if you save that money and, then you can actually become patron members like these people scrolling across the screen now. Because, if anyone wants to help Blake cope more, it's our paid patrons. So, if you would like to help him in those endeavors, hopefully we get him on some medication or can convince him of that soon. It'll probably never happen. Become one of our paid patrons today. We have 3 different tiers, and we do really try to, I think, at least stay in contact with some of our patrons, especially if they reach out to us, and more so in private conversations. Actually, speaking of our patrons, this is a good one to shout out. Traumahawk, while we're talking about our patrons, he decided like day of the event that he's just like, he got off work. He's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go. He literally got off a night shift, went home, changed, came to play the event, couldn't decide what to play, played day 1, and then went back to work. Like, what a trooper. Like, crazy. But we got to hang out with him quite a bit. And he's someone that we've gotten some games with online and we keep up with on a regular basis. So I was really glad that we got to meet him in person as well. Just a really cool dude. So I want to give a shout out to Trauma there. Just really kind of become a friend of the channel that with things. It's still kind of crazy to think about. But if you want to be in that position as well, become a paid patron today.
I thought that shit was so funny because y'all walked up and you were like, you know who this is? And I was like, I don't know who the fuck this is. And then you like pointed at the arm and I was like, that's Trauma, because I knew the tattoos. That was the only reason. It was the same thing. I don't see the faces. I just see this shit as we're sitting there playing on fucking spell table. So I was like, oh, I was like, hell yeah, dude. That was so funny.
Oh man. But if that's something that maybe isn't feasible to you right now, or you're not looking at getting a proxy deck, or you're saving money towards it and you can't really do that, but maybe you haven't subscribed to the channel just yet, like, go on ahead and hit the subscribe button, especially if you've made it this far in the video. Like, we're at nearly, for us, it's like 3 hours of recording, and you listen to us the whole time, and we're proud of you. But that just means now you have to subscribe, turn on the notifications, drop some comments down below, like this video, and as always,
Go play some cEDH.